I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone with the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I'm a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Whoa, I'm solo. Where did the homie go? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Already Dead with myself, Austin Picard of the Underclass Podcast. And usually I got my co-host, obviously, Jose Galison from No Way Jose, who was here this entire time until apparently his internet probably suicided itself or something, I would imagine. But anyway, so I'm sure he'll be returning to the StreamYard here in a brief moment. But as of now, I figure we might as well start with one of the more pressing topics that's been, I don't know, seemingly. What's up, Jacob? You want to join me as a co-host for a moment?
Yeah, I figured I would just hop on because Jose was having internet issues before we started.
Right.
So figured just might as well hop on for a sec, hold the fort down.
Yeah, I was very surprised, honestly. I expected Jose to be running the intro, and all of a sudden I was alone. But yeah, I just saw really the most pressing thing other than the ridiculous nature of the Hantavirus, which I think is kind of like a major psychological operation to set up this dystopian framework they rely upon.
Dude, I think it's like they're kind of letting it run. I don't know if they're exactly pushing it, but I think they're letting it run because everyone's still traumatized from COVID, right? Like nobody healed from that, you know? Like, dude, I'm still experiencing some trauma from being forced to go through the humiliation rituals and like, you know, like being forced to wear a mask or whatever, you know, like just ridiculous. Oh, looks like the homie's back.
Dude, what the fuck? Sorry, guys. Super embarrassing. Super embarrassing. I was literally hanging out in the pre-show for like 20 minutes before the show, and it wasn't until like the showtime started that I started having like weird internet glitches. So, hey, whatever. Here I am. Sorry, guys. Did you already do the intro? Are we good? I don't know where we're at.
I was a surprise intro, but yeah.
I was just holding down the fort till you got back. So,
well, we're back. Sorry, guys. I feel like we're all thrown off in the order of things because usually I'm the one who does a little intro here. I'm not sure how we've eased the audience in. I'll trust you guys, but I believe we probably have plenty to talk about today. Sorry about my internet issues. I was feverishly retweeting, disconnecting, reconnecting, doing all the things. Here we are. Let's hope the internet feds leave me alone. The internet feds have been up my ass. Do want to give out a warning for fellow content creators out there. Do not evoke the name of Jeremy Hambling, the quartering. There's a good chance you may lose your channel. Hey, whoa. I mean, we didn't get into the like, well, it's like a mixture of things. You got to bring up Jeremy Hambling and then bring up certain other things connected
Right.
to him, and that's boom, we'll look at you. And it just
Don't
so
do
happened
it,
the
your mom.
one day, don't do it. And the one day that I covered it, I get a strike, and I haven't gotten a strike in forever. They got me on a different stream for hate speech, so it's like it's fair. I mean, I guess I may have done. I probably did break the terms of service, but it just seemed like a coincidence. Anyways, we're not here talking about my problems, but that's why there's no YouTube this week for me. For the No Way Jose side of things, there's just the Rumble. But we'll try to be careful and not anger the internet feds as I have already. This is what happens when the internet feds get in your ass. So Austin, how have the internet feds been treating you? Have they been bugging you, or have you been fine?
I think I'm good, honestly. I'm not quite sure. I did see I think many of us in this sort of space at this moment had a similar sort of purge, digitally speaking, as far as like I had I don't know, it was kind of a strange occurrence. It wasn't like a major impact or anything, but it was noticeable, right? And so I was just wondering if maybe it was a bot cleanup or something to that effect. But I think it's far more than that, more than often I would imagine at the very least. It's a little bit more strategic as far as the way it's kind of I don't know, just it feels in a real way like it's disruptive to many content creators, just in terms of like an organic and authentic path to growth, right? And I just think that's normal, and it's a consequence of the influencer industrial complex at large, and kind of how it affects anyone who's objectively engaging in this environment as well, which I think inherently kind of endure consequences for that. But I will say, I don't know, beyond the Hantavirus, which we can get into in a moment, we obviously had the breaking news of the Department of War releasing their first tranche of UFO files, right? As a part of Trump's executive order on UFO disclosure. Are you still here, Jose? I lost him. All right. Well, the point being is that clearly this is in many ways an extension of Bluebeam. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
but
sorry. If this keeps up, we'll let Jacob take over. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people excited about that development. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. The internet feds are getting me. I swear it was working fine earlier. But go on, Austin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You did the morning show today, right?
Yeah, I did a morning show just fine. No problem. Didn't give me issues, but only on Rumble. But yeah, sorry, guys. Super unprofessional. I pay for the higher internet and everything, so I don't know. I really think it's internet feds.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating by design, I would think. But either way, I'm glad you're here, brother, because we need to unpack as much of this as we possibly can in an objective way. And I just think this is an extension of Bluebeam as far as this UFO disclosure, as much as it is like seemingly a distractionary tactic as well, right? Disclosure Day happened just after we covered that strange kind of that those pastors who went public and claimed there was an arranged and orchestrated meeting about utilizing the church to essentially spin this UFO disclosure in a real way to weaponize it, I think, through the church, and through that they could easily, just it's the age-old tactic of essentially, utilizing the institution of religion, right, as a means to essentially staging, I would think, priming the general public into potentially embracing a dystopian outcome in terms of this disclosure agenda and the Bluebeam project at large. So I just see it as obviously we're supposed to kind of interpret this as the most transparent administration in American history is at it again, right? And I mean, just to imagine a world where we're seriously expected to believe that this pedophile-occupied government has finally provided us with unequivocal evidence of the existence of extraterrestrial life, while not a single perpetrator has been arrested or charged as a result of the DOJ's Epstein investigation, right? I mean, it's just laughable, and I mean, it's not as if this certainly couldn't be intended to, I don't know, be utilized as another conveniently timed distraction, as I was alluding to inevitably used by the Trump administration for PR damage control, right? While simultaneously psychologically engineering, in my mind, another foundational building block required to manufacture consent within the concept of problem, reaction, solution, which is just a philosophy that, is always relied upon. So this is in the form of the blue beam psi slop, I guess, is the way you could put it now. And so it honestly does feel like blue beam is just another reliable wild card, or even a trump card, I guess, in this case, that they can really thoroughly exploit whenever they deem necessary in order to really deceptively draw people back into their political puppet show. And so, yeah, the fucking internet feds, man. We lost the homie. I'm a little bit concerned that he's become a priority target in the algorithm these days, but it's kind of just a natural consequence at this point. And I do feel like the dystopian nature of digital censorship is kind of escalating in a real way. But I don't know. In terms of the PR spin, a story like UFO disclosure, it really does successfully divert the public's attention away from more important issues that, I don't know, like seeking justice for the victims in the Epstein case, or the genocide attached to another major geopolitical conflict playing out in the Middle East. So it's just never ending, and utilizing this new age esoteric and technocratic ideological system of control is the way in which we were discussing last week how blue beam would be framed as a holy war versus these, honestly, it will inevitably turn into a debate between these ideological polar opposites in general society of the general public, and especially in the West, will become bogged down in this nonsensical debate over whether the extraterrestrial phenomena are actually demons or here to save us and rescue us from the pedophile occupied government and the permanent establishment, which I would imagine many people would actually fall into this new age orthodoxy, right? It really is a false prophecy, I feel like, that they're relying upon in many ways beyond the divisive propaganda that they kind of exploit on a daily basis. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind is at in terms of the disclosure project at hand. And I will say there's a hilarious clip we might as well play of basically whenever, I think it was Fox and Friends originally reported this, and you have just the most cartoonish form of, a mainstream Mockingbird journalist just basically presenting the most just deceptive framework of how this disclosure is going to impact the general public and society at large, as if it's anything really even new, right? And that's what's so frustrating, is that people are not addressing the fact that a lot of these new disclosure items that are being presented as smoking guns have essentially been released in the past, right, by many other disclosure, moments of transparency, and essentially through FOIA requests and things of that nature, which were never spotlighted in an honest way by the mainstream press. So here we are when they would love to distract us from interdimensional pizza files. That's exactly what they are. The pedo rapture. My God, you guys are killing it. The chat is on fire. But I will say, whenever it comes down to, the Trump administration releasing this massive trove of alien UFO files, they're framing it as obviously the first time in American history any administration has done this, as if they're taking these major steps in regard to transparency in general. And again, it's very much laughable. And if you read through any of the UFO, the tranche of documents, it becomes very self-evident that none of this is a smoking gun proving any existence of extraterrestrial life. And so we have to, I think, acknowledge that if we're being honest with ourselves.
The Trump administration releasing the first batch of files related to UFOs and alien life.
So is the truth really out there?
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joins us live with the details. What have you learned, Peter?
Good morning. So a White House official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. You can see on it, it says AARO files copy 2 of 3. That is the all domain resolution office copy 2 of 3. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before. Some of them have not. And we have been going through this all morning and overnight to try to put together some of the best videos so we can all look at this together. This is a world exclusive right here. So let's go to the first clip. Over the skies of the United Arab Emirates in June 2024. An inverted teardrop with a vertically linear trailing mass, as described by the War Department, suspended below. The War Department cannot say for sure what this is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. The next video, over the skies of Iraq, December 2022, moving bottom left to top right of the field of view. All CENTCOM gets from this is an area of contrast. That's what they describe it as. It is officially still listed as an unresolved UAP report. Next video, over the skies of Greece, October 2023. What is described as a small and circular UAP flying near the surface of the ocean towards land. CENTCOM can't tell us what it is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. Within the last 2 minutes, all of these videos have gone live on war.gov/UFO, and a White House official tells Fox First, while past administrations sought to discredit or dissuade the American people, President Trump is focused on providing maximum transparency to the public, who can ultimately make up their own minds about the information contained in these files. And there's also a fresh look at some historical records. There's this from Apollo 17 included in this big document dump. One of the astronauts says, we've got a few very bright particles or fragments or something drifting by as we maneuver. The control center says, Roger, understood. Another astronaut says, there's a whole bunch of big ones on my window down there, just bright. It looks like the 4th of July out of Ron's window. Another astronaut says, yes, now you can see some of them in shape. They're very jagged, angular fragments that are tumbling. This exchange has long been dismissed as floating insulation, but now has been previously released and discussed by keen observers. There is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly. And this all started, of course, because we asked the president about it in February.
Oh, my God.
Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave Class the right information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
Dude?
Yeah, I thought honestly everyone should appreciate that segment. It's so cartoonish, the level in which they're willing to stoop to present this form of the disclosure project agenda, and just seeing, I think there was one additional claim where basically UFO files reveal this claim of a secret flying saucer capable of reaching 1,500 miles per hour, built by the Nazis, right? So you have all of these, ridiculous. And by the way, the lights that the Apollo crew were suggesting were proof of anything. Let's just be honest; those were studio lights at Lookout Mountain Laboratory. Okay, like we all have to be aware of that by now. And,
dude, I'm pretty sure they just shot with like models.
I mean,
just like Star Wars did,
you can't identify any of these unidentified flying objects. Obviously, that's why they're referred to as UAPs or aerial phenomenon. But it's just fascinating to me that they're pointing out any of what, I mean, we've seen even more, I would think, compelling videos than what they're presenting as this sort of smoking gun that's supposed to convince us, that it's, oh my God, dude. There was another clip as well of basically the White House released a photo of a UAP that looks exactly like the Superman spaceship that he flew to Earth as a baby. I'm telling you,
dude, they just think people are stupid. They really think people are stupid. And you know what? Lots of people are, Like,
You're not wrong.
I blame the schools, you know? It's ridiculous.
They're doing their job.
Yeah.
What? Look at this. Hey, man,
dude.
come on now. Watch the
Dear
scene.
Solana,
So funny.
he remains here with us. You will die as surely as we will.
But why Earth, Jarrell? They're primitives, thousands of years behind us.
Those Superman movies were the shit, though. I will say that. I enjoyed them.
Dude, Christopher Reeves is my favorite.
Right.
Best Superman.
Man, Superman is amongst us.
Yeah.
That's all that this. Look at it. It's identical.
Dude, they think people are fucking stupid.
I know.
Like,
it's
well,
ridiculous.
Like, on one hand, right? Because it's like, I really do think like the sci-fi stuff, right, will come out, and then like they use that as a way to be able to, I guess, like use it as inspiration, right? Like some of the stuff from like early Star Trek, like we're seeing now, like, dude, it's our cell phones, you know, right? Like, but then on the other hand, like the UAP or UFOs, fuck that. They're UFOs in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
But I think they're using it as a way to like mock us, right? Like it has to be. I don't see it as any other way.
No, I don't either. And it really feels like we're at a point where, I mean, they have no reason to honestly respect our intellect in mass, right? I mean, just in terms of their ability to just the deceptive tactics utilized on a daily basis are so sophisticated at this point that so many people, it's almost an impossible task to even reflect enough upon your own ideology to get back to ground zero, to proceed forward in a way where you're not entirely clouded in terms of your ability to critically think through these logical fallacies that present themselves over the course of your attempt at honestly even attempting to present your own ideology, which is something I always tried to, as much as I reject falling into a strict, structured kind of mindset, right? I at the very least try and reflect and critically, attempt to at least be able to present my own core principles where I can identify them and understand them to the point in which I feel confident in having that discussion. But the vast majority of people, you try and kind of like pierce that naive veil of vulnerability below the surface for just an inch, and they honestly over emotionally react every time. And basically run away kicking and screaming after they viciously launch some type of attack utilizing their ideological accepted language, right? Which is just absurd because they always fit that cookie cutter kind of it's never an original idea, right? It's always them essentially just it's parroting basically individuals who they've now embraced I think it all truly does kind of lie within the concept of an identity crisis that hasn't yet to be addressed. And so many people are just kind of going wherever the ethical wind blows at the time, depending on the trend, and just knowing how the vast majority of people, what high school taught so many children was that their reputation mattered more than anything, right? Basically, as far as how your peers interpreted who you were, basically, kind of staged your entire experience throughout the high school process. That extends into adulthood, and people have yet to shed that, childish perspective and philosophy in life.
Right.
And it's just so very obvious that it's kind of plaguing many people in that ability to even address their own core values of what they allegedly stand for. And and so they kind of become hypocrites by design. It's an inherent value in terms of the average person in modern society. So here we are, where people actually believe this is any sort of transparency, when in reality is perfectly timed to distract anyone from what matters most.
Well,
Which
and does anyone really actually give a shit about this?
I certainly hope not.
I mean, because I'm over here still thinking about Epstein, and don't get me wrong, I am sick of talking about Epstein, right?
Right.
But I also realize Epstein is something if we actually focus on this, we can actually change the world for the better, And I think that's why they want to distract us with the Iran conflict, UFOs or whatever. And it's dude, I think they just missed their window with the whole UFO thing. Dude, you guys should have done this in the early 2000s or something, or I don't know. But it's totally a response, right? Is what it seems like to me. It's them trying to sweep things under the rug, like you said, trying to distract us. It just, I don't know. It doesn't seem genuine. They don't give a shit about any of us. So it's they will never release something unless it benefits them somehow, period. Right? Because the reality is the state is against the people. We live in a world where the state it's us versus the state. It's not left versus right. It's not black versus white. It's not schizo versus normie. Well, okay, it kind of is a little bit, but it really is the state versus the people, the slave masters versus the slaves. That's where it is. The banks versus the economic slaves. This is how it is, and they want to keep us from really awakening. And there's a huge comeback to Christianity right now, which seems pretty natural in my opinion. I think some of it's kind of forced, but I think a lot of it really is natural because people, they just realize something's wrong, right?
Right.
And so they're going back, they're finding spirituality. And so what's a good way to try and derail that? Aliens.
Exactly. And by the way, that those pastors, right, the religious leaders who came out last week, we're discussing how they came out proclaiming that they were told to prepare now for UFO disclosure to unleash Bible-changing revelations. And I looked into it. Yeah. And it basically reinforces what you were just saying, though, about return to the church in many ways, because, people are desperate for answers, I guess, in a certain sense. And it was essentially through, Trump basically releasing these files. And just before, when they orchestrated this meeting with all these religious leaders, one of the pastors, I think he was from Kentucky or something, if I remember correctly, but either way, he said, you're going to have people who are going to say if there are galaxies and there are allegedly other creations in the galaxies, then the whole creation story is a myth. And you're also going to have people that's going to apostatize and turn from the Christian faith because they have no answer for what they're about to hear. And then it goes into basically the video that we played last week, where essentially they're claiming that you're also going to have people returning to the church in mass, right? And this is something they should expect in order to search for answers, right? Essentially for what's to come. And so, I just thought it feels
you mean one world government, one world religion.
Exactly. And so I just feel like at this point, they know exactly what they're doing, right? And this is something where I think the utilizing the church as and weaponizing it in this way is just morally corrupt in a way, that only pedophile Satanists would be willing to stoop to that level, right? And so I'm not at all surprised that this is a part of it. But it's just, again, whenever you do see this false sense of accountability, right, as if they're actually bringing forward any honest disclosure, it's something we just need to get past the fact that it's not happening, right? The permanent establishment will never bring forward any type of disclosure or transparency that affects the dystopian framework at large, They would never actually offer us that window of opportunity to restructure the system to benefit us in any real way. And so just it boils down to the fact that we have to eliminate this pedestal that we place any sort of, I mean, what do they amount to? A perfect stranger in Washington, D.C. that commit child sex crimes. That's what it amounts to. And people legitimately defend them, right? And have never met them. And how can you have a sort of honest interpretation of this person's character or moral character? It's impossible. You know, I mean, it just feels as if the evidence itself is too overwhelming to even consider the notion that any of these people of prominence in DC, the part of the establishment, are entirely compromised. So it's it's just a joke at this point. So, but I did see, obviously, there's a Reuters article that I discovered that kind of includes a lot of the more interesting reactions from some of the prominent figures, and basically, no, I'm not trusting the plan, your mom, not, but yeah, I just think that the files, obviously, as we saw, it included Apollo mission photos, right, transcripts of unidentified phenomena.
Dude,
So,
we're gonna get more information and more truth from an X-Files episode than we are anything they fucking send us.
100%, man. I know, but it's so funny because there were pictures, obviously, that were presented within the dumps themselves, and in the tranche. It's so ridiculous. I took some screenshots so we could look at them because,
like, real quick.
Go ahead.
There's a part of me, right, that loves this too, because, dude, I miss like the old conspiracy culture, you know, like there was just something cool about it, right? Like, and it wasn't cool back in the day, but there's just something about it. And so, like, I love the idea of all of this, like, being real or whatever, right? But I stopped believing in UFOs once the government told me they were real. Like, you know,
100%, man. But look at this. This is a football-shaped body, UAP, that was apparently reported by the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command in 2024, seen as part of a series of documents of unidentified aerial phenomenon that was released, obviously, just the other day, May 8th. So that's supposed to be some sort of compelling evidence of anything. Another black dot.
Remind me after we're done with the show. I will send you a copy of that book, Mirage Men.
Okay.
All about how basically, like, the intelligence agencies have flooded the UFO and paranormal communities as a way to discredit all of these people and stop any information from actually spreading.
Makes sense,
anyone watching, also, if you guys want it, reach out to me on Twitter and I'll send it to you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, well, this is another alleged compelling sort of smoking gun that we're supposed to find as critical evidence of any sort of extraterrestrial life. Yes, and apparently also an infrared still image, right? So whatever. I mean, what are we supposed to? What we're supposed to expect? This is supposed to be some type of unidentified object. I don't know. Any of these could clearly just be almost like a photographic anomaly of some kind. You never know. But
yeah, that could be photographic distortion. It could be fuzz on the lens. Like, dude, this doesn't show me anything.
Here's another great one.
Ooh.
We have another unidentified object.
Oh, it's happening.
So it just, man. Oh yeah, here's one of my favorites. This is a composite sketch.
That's a cool painting. Or
yeah, it's a
computer generated image.
Of an eyewitness report, apparently from September 2023. So a metallic object. Yeah.
Fancy.
So obviously at this point, you know, I saw someone was reacting to this, calling this out as a clear distraction, right, for the current Trump administration to
Right.
deploy upon the public. And you had many members of the UFO disclosure community who were sanctioning this as a turning point in transparency. Oh yeah, it's absolutely absurd. But you have, I think, basically, there was one individual, I think it was, oh yeah, I remember Marjorie Taylor Greene did say something I thought was hilarious. She just said, I really don't care about the UFO files. I just don't. I'm so sick of the look at the shiny object propaganda. So
Yeah,
it's like,
no kidding.
occasionally she says something I agree with, but there was, I think, UAP investigator Mick West. He claimed the administration of former President Joe Biden disclosed much of the same information on Friday as Friday's release. So basically claiming that this information was already made public by the past administration, and they're essentially piggybacking off of the files that were already made public prior to this. And so their evidence of us not being able to identify a small white dot that's a long distance away is what a Sacramento, California-based analyst said of the new UAP videos. So, yeah, at least we can tell, right? People aren't. There are many people out there that feel as we do in this current moment, and aren't falling into that ridiculous trap. But
No kidding.
with that being said, before we get into the hantavirus for a moment, there was this fascinating. I think I shared it with you guys. You weren't here last week, were you? After the show, so
Nope.
Okay, cool. This will be new for you because privately after the show last week, I'm pretty sure I told your mom and a few others who were back there. But I discovered that essentially there's a misnomer that allegedly the very first film that was presented on White House grounds was The Birth of a Nation, right?
Yeah, I remember you mentioning this, but we didn't really get into it because you mentioned it before the show,
Okay.
but not really. I wasn't there for it afterward.
Man, it's crazy because essentially that film was screened in 1915, but there was a prior film that had been screened the year before in 1914 known as Cabiria. And it is now, I went and actually confirmed that it was officially the actual film that was legitimately screened at the White House.
Right.
And it turns out that basically it was the first film ever screened on White House grounds, and it was viewed specifically by President Woodrow Wilson and other dignitaries. And so this film is fascinating because it's a kind of a strange plot. Apparently, it's recognized for having major impacts and influence on future filmmakers, right? Just as far as the industry at large, and making, I don't know, marking some sort of significant evolution of cinema, I guess, is the way that they many people interpret this film's influence and impact. And so, what I discovered though is that there's a scene in this 1914 film Cabiria that basically depicts a dramatic rescue where you have this essentially the hero character saving an abducted girl named Cabiria from being sacrificed to the god Moloch, and the scene is called the Temple of Moloch, right?
Oh.
Yes. So this is officially the very first film ever screened on White House grounds. And it's kind of fascinating to watch the scene for a brief moment. It shouldn't be shocking to us at this point, but it's kind of extraordinary to say the least.
Oh, I've seen this.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Cabiria means Kabbalah, they say.
Yep.
Interesting.
Sure does.
Presenting a baby to the god Moloch.
This reminds me of that. Geez, there was that event in the early 20th century where they literally did one of these like rituals at a World's Fair.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
they
insane.
did this ritual literally at a World's Fair. It was, I think, the last one in Chicago. There's video of it out there. I know I have it somewhere. I would have to pull it up for next week, but like, dude, it's just crazy.
Isn't that
Just
insane?
crazy.
Yeah. And you know, it begins to make all the sense in the world why you would have the recent report over the past week of a Disney cruise ship having staffers among 28 arrested in a massive child porn operation.
Yeah.
And
Did you see Disney's response to that?
what did
It
they
was
have to say?
basically, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it was basically like, this has nothing to do with the Disney Corporation, and we have a zero tolerance policy regarding this, and we fully support law enforcement and their actions and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I would believe that, except for you keep getting busted.
Yeah.
Like people that work for your company keep getting busted. And hey, like, how are you actually supposed to know about this stuff, beforehand? I just think it's odd that you just keep getting busted, know?
Exactly.
It's
I
just
think,
weird. Why do you keep getting busted?
man, JJ's in the chat. Yeah, I think
Dude,
it
I'm
makes
feeling
sense that yeah, I'm panicking already, honestly, and especially when I saw this report, though, I just looked at my wife and I was like, my God, I'm always going to have a job at this point. You know what I mean? Like, as terrible as that sounds, it's like
No
there will
kidding.
never be a lack of content in
No,
and
and
it's just
honestly,
go ahead.
dude, like, this is old world, right? This has been
Yeah.
going on for millennia, and it's going to continue going on, especially until people like us expose it. So you're right.
Exactly.
We will always have a job.
Right. Yeah, and I think it says basically families hoping to make memories on a cruise were unknowingly surrounded by alleged child predators working aboard the ships, according to law enforcement officials. U.S. Customs and Border Protection boarded 5 cruise ships, including a Disney cruise, docked in San Diego. This is between April 23rd and 25th as part of an ongoing child sexual exploitation material enforcement operation. And this operation is allegedly known as Operation Tidal Wave, which is a recycled name, apparently, because that was a former. I think they've reused many of these names at this point in terms of just investigative operations and beyond, right, to extend into clandestine forms. But the fact is that apparently. And I pulled a clip just briefly because I figured we might as well play it. And so after boarding the vessels and interviewing 26 suspected crew members from the Philippines, 1 suspected crew member from Portugal, and 1 from Indonesia, officers confirmed all subjects were involved in either the receipt, possession, transportation, distribution of, or viewing of child sexual abuse material or child pornography. And that's according to a CBP spokesperson.
Right.
So CBP canceled their visas, and these criminals are being removed from the country, according to the spokesperson. They have a zero tolerance policy for this type of behavior and fully cooperated with law enforcement, while the majority of these individuals, this is according to a Disney spokesperson that told the California Post that they have a zero tolerance policy for this and that they fully cooperated, Jacob.
Easy for you to say, It's like
that's your job to say that, right?
Right, exactly. Well, and it's just like plausible deniability, It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you guys are easily able to allow this to keep happening on some level while also when every time you get busted being like, oh, we didn't know, we're sorry, like we cooperated fully with law enforcement, like we're doing our part. It's like,
And
okay.
it's, again, man, like this being simultaneously coming out as far as this story and going public. At the same time, you have this strange Hantavirus cruise ship story of playing out in a way. It's just interesting
It's
overlap.
almost like the Hantavirus thing was meant to cover up the Disney thing. Like,
Could
I don't
very
know.
well. I mean, layered operations, my friend. Right? They tend to rely upon, the convenient nature of how they can essentially exploit every avenue of opportunity in terms of many of these psychological operations. So I can imagine that world is all I'm saying. And
yeah, dude.
Yeah, but for Disney to basically say that those who were basically the individuals a part of this are no longer with the company. Well, yeah, you would hope so.
Ooh, yeah.
But
Yeah, no, we
anyway.
just gave them a nice severance package,
Exactly.
Probably
So,
did, those sick fucks.
yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. And to what like legitimate legal consequences are we to expect when they return to their home countries?
Right.
Like what?
Probably nothing.
Yeah, I don't see how just removing them from the country is an acceptable consequence for that criminal type of behavior. I mean,
Right.
you would think that there would be further investigation. I don't know, Interpol would be involved. You would have a type of international investigative scope that you could rely on to pursue legal action once they
Right.
return home. I don't imagine that.
I mean, that means we have to expect this other country who is most likely intentionally sending these people over to our country to begin with, that they're somehow going to follow the laws now.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So apparently you had just individuals vacationing on the cruise, right?
Right.
They're witnessing immigration officials cuffing several employees on the Disney Magic ship. That's what it's called. While it was
Wow.
being unloaded. Yes.
Little on the fucking nose,
A
man.
little on the nose. There was a passenger named Darmy Mehta, which apparently took a video of the moment, saying one of those detained was actually her server. So
wow.
Yeah, apparently many of the immigration rights groups before this was made public, as far as the motivation and inspiration and charges, relied on for the arrest
Right.
taking place. They tried to frame this as basically ICE, right?
Right. I saw
Yes.
that. Like
Mhm.
like there were all these like hardcore liberals coming out being like, "Oh my god, it's ICE again." And it's
Yep.
like, do you realize like who they're busting? This isn't
Exactly.
this isn't just like the right wing coming down on brown people,
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
get
and
out
that's
of
what
your you're just like your retard mindset, honestly.
it's ideological capture is what it is, and
Yes.
they can't see through it, and they only can associate these entities as entirely it's either black and white in their mind, right?
Yes.
It's entirely corrupt, and there couldn't be one single individual in the organization that
Right.
potentially is acting in good faith. That's just the cartoonish way to view life in general. It's obviously not the
really
case,
is.
right? Yeah. And
Really,
it's sad
really is.
that people oversimplify, things to that effect and to the point to where they can't think through this in an ethical way. And so they always arrive on this immoral conclusion in terms of how they frame any
Right.
of this in their own mind. So you have the immigration rights groups basically coming out up in arms over these arrests of the Disney staffers.
Get the fuck out of here with this.
Yeah.
Dude. Like really, like you are discrediting yourself by sticking up for these people, right?
Exactly.
Like it's like, okay, you're telling me you're gonna start an organization to defend Leo Frank, right? Like this is what I see, this is what I hear, right?
Uh-huh. Exactly. That is really what it is, and it's just kind of frustrating at the end of the day when it boils down to people's inability to think through things at a real efficient level. But
I got a clip after this. I actually
Okay.
found that ritual. It's like a minute long. So
Oh, hell yeah, dude. And before we get out of here, I have some like incredible receipts on Waco mind control, rights and legitimately utilizing the Leadership Management Institute for those purposes. And I'm talking names of individual perpetrators involved. So it was far more compelling than even my original avenue of being introduced to this type line of credible evidence. I view it as at least to take seriously enough, and so we'll have to get into that. But we'll certainly make that pivot after the intermission, I would imagine. But anyway, but yeah, let's check that clip out after this. I just figured we might as well play something in line with the Disney ship, because it's kind of strange just to even see the arrest taking place.
CBP and ICE say these cruise ship worker arrests late last month were part of something called Operation Tidal Wave, targeting people they say are suspected of viewing, sharing, or distributing child pornography.
Yeah, get them out of here.
This was the video that sparked questions as to why Customs and Border Protection boarded and detained workers on board a Disney cruise ship docked in San Diego in late April.
I don't know.
CBP and ICE are now responding, calling it Operation Tidal Wave, an ongoing multi-agency child pornography enforcement operation based on information received from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. CBP says 27 people from 8 cruise ships were detained over the course of 5 days, all suspected of being involved with possession, distribution, or viewing child pornography. The workers, mostly from the Philippines, one from Portugal and another from Indonesia. CBP says it canceled the workers' visas and returned them to their home countries.
I think there was something very unique here, that it was CBP and ICE, and they immediately sent all those crew members back to their home countries.
Maritime attorney Michael Winkelman says these types of cases are usually handled by the FBI.
They could have been charged in U.S. courts
Right.
and be in federal prison right now, awaiting charges, awaiting trial, etc.
Now I find that problematic, right? That legitimately there could have been, measures for accountability and an avenue toward justice in a way. If obviously I don't rely upon the feds to intervene and honestly pursue justice in that way, but there are clearly those measures in place for that they could have pursued, and in no way does that seem to have happened. So I found
I'm curious, like, why they were deported if they were causing like felony level crimes of this nature, within U.S. jurisdiction. Like,
exactly.
I understand the deportation thing and whatnot.
It's a Disney cruise ship.
Yeah, dude.
What are we talking about?
No kidding. It's not like they busted these guys in some seedy illegal bar or casino or something. It was Disney.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Disney cruise ship, dude. The only thing worse could have been in the middle of a Disney park.
Right.
Like
no doubt. Which I'm sure
this is a floating Disneyland.
Right. And what is that, Club 33 or whatever that you have to be essentially?
Yeah, you have to be invited to.
Yeah. I've just being at Disneyland before, I saw it whenever we took my nephew, we walked past it and I was like, oh my God, there's one of the entry points to Club 33, right? And it is very strange, man. There's definitely something to the fact that all the way, trace this back to Walt Disney and his fascinating Freemasonic connections. I mean, it's very clear that he was a member.
His connections to intelligence and everything.
Exactly.
Because I mean, he was basically a glowy spook himself,
Right. I mean, it really wasn't anything more that he was going to reveal to us as far as this immigration attorney, but I just thought
I don't
fascinating,
like
right?
cops. Like I don't like cops. I'm not a cop guy. I'm not a government guy. But I think if there's any legitimate use of government, it's to bust and punish pedophiles.
Yeah. No kidding, right?
Right. If there's gonna be a government, that's the least they could fucking do.
The least.
and people are complaining about this.
I know, man. It's something that just I'm telling you, and if you can't get behind, and that is the only way in which I will ever support the state, obviously, is when they're seemingly pursuing some avenue of accountability toward justice, and
100%.
yeah, and even in that context, it's just because it's the ethical thing to do. It's not because
Right.
it's the state effectively behind this, right? And
Right.
and I think people just need to be able to, again, it's like distinguish and make that distinction in their own minds, right? As far as like this, again, it's this vulnerable mindset of kind of always oversimplifying the black hats and white hat narrative, right? To essentially fit your worldview, when in reality it's far more sophisticated as far as the level of deception and intricate evolution of this psychological mind war that has effectively disrupted our ability to even remain at some sort of I don't know, just I would think we're at an inherent disadvantage, as I've said in the past, as far as like the level of conditioning that we're exposed to, essentially at the beginning, at as early as infant level, exposure to even cartoon symbolism and things of that nature. It's just such a this unparalleled and extraordinary level of diabolical kind of strategic manipulation that I think people need to be able to address and acknowledge for themselves, right? So they don't continue to fall into these naive versions of reality. But anyway, so we're surrounded by pedophiles, and don't go to Disneyland.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially because you're going to be paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for your kids to be diddled. Like,
right, exactly,
dude. Oh, it's so frustrating. And then, let's defend them. How about no?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so just a little bit of context. This was literally categorized as a Jewish historical pageant. Okay, like this is how it was presented to everyone. Like, this is like some historical thing. So this is 1933 Chicago's World Fair. 125,000 people saw this. Okay, which is insane. Like a football stadium full of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is crazy, dude.
Wow. This was the Chicago Fair?
Yeah, 1933 Chicago World Fair.
Is that the same one that what was the name of that psychopathic serial killer that had that house of horrors? Yeah, H.H. Holmes. That's the one. My God, that's a crazy story, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, man.
Right? Dude, what the fuck is it? Look.
Present an infant child. Yes. That is so ridiculous.
There it goes.
It's the exact same ritual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I just don't get it, dude.
The first report I saw, just to we'll take the intermission here in just a moment, but the first report that I saw of the Hantavirus was this article from the Wall Street Journal. All right. And guess what the headline is? The 33-day Atlantic Odyssey that turned into a Hantavirus nightmare. Okay.
Wow. 33 days, huh?
Let's take that very seriously.
Yeah.
And I should
totally
say,
believe you guys.
So hantavirus, right? In which the claim is that I think there was just a report that came out where the hantavirus strain may be more contagious than previously thought, according to health experts. All these headlines are being ran right now to stoke
Right.
panic.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what I initially saw though was now this is fascinating to me. Hanta is apparently an Israeli slang. All right.
Right.
It means nonsense, a lie, a scam, or a hoax. So I was just like, no way. That it's just at this point, all the world's a stage, my friend. We just like, what are we going to do? And
That's
I saw
crazy.
this crisis actor that they relied on for this ridiculous narrative. The
Oh,
only
the guy
passenger.
that was reading the script?
Yes,
Yeah.
the only passenger on the cruise ship that went through the
We are more than
33-day
just a story.
who went through the 33-day Atlantic Odyssey,
Yeah.
right? That turns into a hantavirus nightmare. That is such a great headline. But it turns out, yes, this guy is no doubt, in my mind, undoubtedly a crisis actor that initially was attempting to stage propaganda to influence people into taking the COVID vaccine. And what's even more incredible is that he's wearing the exact same wardrobe while he's on board the hantavirus cruise ship, making this public statement that he was wearing in the viral post that he was promoting the COVID vaccine with. So the fact that
did you
Go ahead.
see how so there were two people that released statements about that cruise ship. There was another person on the same ship, but he was only releasing statements through his Instagram stories, and he blatantly said he would not take questions or interviews from the media. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I'm pretty sure that by the way, this kid, I think his name is, hold on, let me find it because it's interesting. Jake Rosemarin, I guess is his name. And he apparently, just looking into this person briefly, I discovered that basically he had an internship in Jerusalem. So,
and you said he was
here.
wearing the same outfit promoting the COVID vaccine as he was in this.
Yeah,
in this story.
same T-shirt. I'll pull the picture real quick because basically the internship in Jerusalem was apparently he was a part of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. So yes. So
public relations.
It's insane coincidence. This is just out of control, man. So I'll pull the clip. Hold on, because there's basically apparently, as a part of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, they perform standard research collection and analysis using a variety of online databases, assisted in videography, recording, and editing of interviews with political analysts.
Yeah.
Responsible for posting and monitoring web articles written by field experts. So this freelance photographer, Jake Rosemarin, apparently went to Emory University. It seems like there's far more to the story. So I would be very skeptical of all of this. And here is the brief clips from obviously initially with COVID, and then also in terms of sorry. Oh my God. It's so funny, honestly. So this is during COVID, right?
Right.
Let's get vaccinated. Gorgeous vaccinated girls get boosted. And gorgeous boosted girls get boosted again if you're eligible.
So that was during COVID.
Make a video like this.
Oh my God.
And here's our boy now.
Wow.
On the Hantavirus cruise ship.
Wow.
Tearful message.
How
from the ship.
unlucky this person just happens to be. Just like, do you remember that guy at the Bondi Beach shooting that just so happened to be at like multiple mass shootings? Or like all of these people, like there was also one of the girls from Parkland that just also happened to be at the Harvard shooting.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like
Oh,
The-
coincidental,
these
of course.
all of these people are just like the most unlucky people ever. You know, poor people, man. How
Uh-huh.
awful! How
Yep.
awful!
What about the homie from the Charlie Kirk assassination, right? He's
Right,
like,
right. I forgot
I'm
about
like,
him.
that guy was at 9/11, dude. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, my God. Uh,
How
they have
horrible,
no
man.
respect for us. Just let's
They don't.
address
They
that
don't.
finally once and for all.
I normally
They
wouldn't make a
really-
video like this, but I feel like I need to say something, so I wrote a few things down. I'm currently on board the MV Hondius, and what's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Oh my God.
We're not just a story. We're not just headlines. We're people.
No shit,
People with
you're fucking
families,
people.
with lives, with people waiting for us at home.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a
Martin
lot of
Luther, for
uncertainty,
sure.
and that's the hardest part.
He sucks at this.
It's terrible.
All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity. I know.
So that's what we're dealing with.
No, seriously, dude, they fucking hate us. They hate us. They think we're stupid. They want us to just honestly just shut up and get in line.
Mhm. I would say
eat the goy slop, take the goy vaccines, and just
Right.
like don't question anything.
I will say, I would say we deserve better psyops, but I really don't think we do at this point, honestly. It's like we need we need to do a better job at dissecting these actively because people fall for this.
I agree.
And it's just like, my God, considering what we just went through with COVID, please don't do this to me, man. Half of my family is not going to be able to handle this. And
Dude,
it's
I'm
just
gonna
take a
have to
toll.
crack down on my family, dude, if this becomes like a thing, right?
Mhm.
Like if this really becomes a thing, I'm gonna have to whip out the whole COVID thing and be like, look, okay, I'm the one that needs to be listened to this time.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I just to look it up and get the average general, basically the breakdown of what hantavirus potentially even is, right? Which again is debatable in my opinion. Who even knows? But hantavirus is allegedly a group of viruses carried by rodents that can cause severe, potentially fatal diseases in humans, primarily hantavirus cardiopulmonary syndrome, HCPS in the Americas, and hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, HFRS in Europe and Asia. Transmission occurs obviously through contact with infected rodent urine, droppings, or saliva, which can become aerosolized.
Or STD, so it can be sexually transmitted, which is fucking weird. Okay, super weird, and it
Don't
has
shove
like
rodents up your ass. Is the
oh, Richard Gere is in trouble, dude.
Yeah, Richard Gere. Oh no, that's so funny. But apparently, I don't know. This is just ridiculous. It's basically capable of limited human-to-human transmission among close contacts. So even that,
Yeah,
I saw.
it's like super limited. It's really hard to get, and it doesn't spread human to human, right?
Right.
So you have to get it from somewhere else. However, the incubation period is like 8 weeks. So,
oh my God.
yeah, it's 1 to 8 weeks. So
Right.
it can pop up so you could literally have it for 2 months. And you're just spreading it around. Well, once again, it doesn't really like spread from person to person. So it's super deadly, but it's really hard to spread around.
Right. Well, North Carolina resident is in quarantine. CDC's monitoring actively 18 Americans as of now. I think the main subjects that allegedly were exposed to this have been taken to a facility in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, oh, CDC, the organization with chemtrails in their logo. Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
I trust them.
So, by the way, the last point on all of this, because again, I wouldn't take this seriously.
We need to take intermission.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready. But the last point in all of this, I'm not entirely sure of the actual statistical odds in terms of how accurate this actually is, but I have seen many different reports claiming that the odds of dying from hantavirus are basically 1 in 30 to 35 million. Odds of dying from a lightning strike, 1 in 15 to 20 million. Odds of dying in a car accident is 1 in 8 to 9,000. And obviously, odds of dying from medical error are 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 1,400, basically. So
Right.
I think you're far more likely to be murdered by your own doctor than you are the hantavirus. So chill out.
Dude, and there's literally like 1 in 5 boys get molested. So
Right.
I mean, you have a pretty good chance of getting raped instead of dying from hantavirus. So maybe let's refocus,
reprioritize.
Yeah.
What we focus on. Absolutely.
No kidding.
All right. I'm ready for intermission if you are, brother.
Right on. And I think Jose, his internet's good, so he'll be on after the intermission. So
awesome.
Yeah, let's take that, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
I see you had your mind on made up. You grew up pitiful life.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Let's get Jose. There we
There
are.
he is.
What's up,
My
guys?
Right
God.
on, fellas.
Missed you,
All right.
dude.
I'm gonna go
Hang out in the back.
take off real quick. hang on back. I'm gonna go get the phone started, and yeah, we'll
Thanks
get
for
other
filling in,
people up
brother.
here.
Hell yeah, appreciate you
Anytime.
filling in. I do want to let everyone know that literally the moment I left, as soon as I got it back up and running, I refreshed things. Not a problem. Not so ever. I had like multiple streams going on. I had a shitload of tabs. I had like so many different things running during the time I was off. Just to see, honestly, I was trying to overload it because I was like, can I overload the internet? What is going on here? It seemed to be the moment that I started to talk on stream is what really does it. But whatever. I know we'll see if it. Hopefully it goes through. Sorry for the flub there, but that's why it's great to have a third seat person here on standby. It really does come in handy quite a bit, and I probably abuse that privilege more than anyone. But hey, whatever. I do appreciate it. So thank you, Jacob. Appreciate you having standing in for issues like this. But we will be bringing on patrons for this, second half of the show, as we always do. I do want to wait a minute, though, because there's one more topic I wanted to get through with Austin before we bring on the patrons. I think we'll be bringing John Black on up first to talk a little bit about Epstein stuff. And then maybe we'll bring on Rage Child after that for some drunken hijinks before we let the show go.
As you segue into this segment, obviously this basically the subject we wanted to discuss. I should at the very least dovetail that segment on the Hantavirus to mention the one statement that you had the World Health Organization essentially coming out and basically making a public statement that the Hantavirus outbreak is the reason why governments around the world need to be part of a global health order. He said, quote, "We really need this incident, this outbreak, to show why the world needs a global entity that connects this. We live in an interconnected world. An outbreak in one part affects everywhere." So you see what they're attempting to do, right, as far as the globalist framework and the international scope of the agenda at large. So I just figured that's another layer to it, obviously. But anyway, so what?
Yeah, they say the same shit for the flu, motherfuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what they did last time we had a big flu that went around. Right. So. I guess it's being a little bit silly there, but there's more truth to it than I'm letting on. That actually is kind of exactly what fucking happened to some degree. But Austin, a long while back, me and you did a Waco weirdness episode, is what we called it. We did like kind of the straight-laced normal Waco episode, because the Waco coverage, you can do a full-on, you can do hours on just like kind of, I wouldn't say completely normie. Obviously, it's questioning the establishment narrative. But there's like an other like level that you dig into where you're like, and you almost like the way we put it, we were like, we did it. I think we did the Waco episode, wasn't it? Like as on an anniversary, the initial one, I think it was some sort of anniversary type thing. And so we didn't want to like really bring up too much and complicate the narrative, getting into the deep, like, well, the CIA have this or that or whatever. Just kind of this straight up like, they killed a bunch of people. This is clearly not okay. Just not the deeper possible things. The things that are maybe a little bit less borne out. But then we did the Waco Weirdness episode, because throughout our digging into that, we realized, oh shit, there's way more. It seems anytime me and you decide to dig deeper into a subject or re-flesh it out, we're like, oh shit, there's a whole lot more here that we didn't quite realize. And Waco was absolutely no exception. And even more so, I guess it's fleshed itself even further. You've re-dug back into some of this old material, just kind of looking into it for whatever reason. And I guess you found some more threads that are worth digging into. So take it away, Austin. You explained it a little bit to me before the chat, but before the show. But obviously, then I think that's right when the internet started glitching. So, but anyways, let me know, that way we can
right. Well, it basically exactly what you just illustrated is this kind of newfound perspective, re-engaging with this strange avenue of evidence and information that is an alternative rabbit hole in its own right. And what's interesting to me is that through kind of being armed with the accumulated knowledge of these additional details that we covered on the Waco Weirdness, it essentially provided me with the ability to kind of flesh through to the point to where I discovered like these fundamental explosive details that almost reinforce a lot of what we were discussing potentially being a possibility as far as mind control experimentation being conducted on the Branch Davidians and especially the leadership. I think specifically 7 sleepers is what was potentially referred to by an ONI operative by the name of Gunter Russbacher, who I believe was recruited as early as like 17 years old, is essentially the story. But there was a letter that was written to Attorney General Janet Reno that we covered in our episode, right? And essentially it was written by Paul Wiltshire, who was the lawyer to these 2 whistleblowers, right? Who were Rodney Stitch and Gunter Karl Russbacher. Wiltshire obviously died in very suspicious circumstances, just basically a month after writing that letter to Janet Reno. And basically, it was alleging that the CIA was killing people to essentially cover up mind control experimentation, and that the Waco incident was one of these specific events. So instantly, I pulled that letter. There's a 101-page letter that Paul Wiltshire had written and even personally tried to take to Janet Reno and got forced up against a wall by individuals. It's very interesting, like the details of the story of him actually taking it to Janet Reno and trying to present it at least to her people, but they had security who essentially came out and kept him from even being able to do that much. And then he disappeared effectively just after this took place. So instantly you have this letter from 1993, right? It's, I believe, May 21st, 93, to Attorney General Janet Reno, and it's called the Wiltshire Report. And in the Wiltshire Report, it essentially claims that David Koresh had an extensive CIA background and happened to be included as one of these sleepers who had been subjected to extensive CIA mind control training and programming, and that Waco had been a major center for CIA mind control experimentation with basically post-World War II ever since, the end of the war is what they were claiming. And Wiltshire even mentions a few specific other geographical locations where this was effectively a hub, right? And I think I've mentioned them in the past, right? It's like a couple of cities in Utah. I think San Francisco, California is one of them. Boise, Idaho was one. There's all of these usual kind of geographical hotspots where many of these cases tend to overlap, right? And surface at the very least, especially the prominent figures. But this occurred specifically with David Koresh, apparently with the mind control programming at the Leadership Management Institute in Waco, right? So if you look into essentially the wife of the ONI operative Gunter Russbacher, and by the way, there's a lot of evidence suggesting, I think Paul Wiltshire essentially claimed that he knew more than Danny Casolaro, right? And this is he basically claimed that he had evidence of the BCCI B&O, or I believe, or BNI bank scandals that were going on at the time. And essentially how it connected to not only the Bush administration with George Bush Sr., but the Clinton administration as well. And so I found that to be very compelling. But the point being is that you had present at the scene after Wiltshire's death, right? It was basically noted by a White House correspondent, Sarah McClendon, who was apparently personal friends with Wiltshire. And basically they go to the house and they discover that essentially he had been dead for days, right? And no one had been allowed entry into the apartment. But when it boils down to it, you have a letter that was made public by the individual Gunter Russbacher, the operative who was blowing the whistle to this source, Paul Wiltshire. And it's very interesting because he essentially claims that he knows exactly the way in which, Paul Wiltshire was actually assassinated and murdered to essentially keep him quiet, right? And so this apparently happened to more than just Paul Wiltshire. But I still feel like the fact of the matter is that Gunter Russbacher was a lifelong covert operative, certainly in my opinion, for the CIA and the Office of Naval Intelligence, I believe is basically proven. But what I discovered was that basically Gunter Russbacher claimed that he was aware of the fact that Randy Weaver had been among the individuals programmed through the Green Beret exposure, right, to this behavioral modification experimentation, which he suggested, right, was essentially routine, as far as routinely included as a part of the Green Beret training program. But he said he was a controlled subject that ended up out of control, basically. And Russbacher introduced Wiltshire to members of his SEAL team. Apparently, these members of the SEAL team and a few other government employees gave Paul Wiltshire the information he put into this 101-page letter that he wrote to Attorney General Janet Reno. So in the letter, he explains that basically, he tries to reinforce the mind control experimentation as a reality, right? But then he goes into further detail. And they start discussing essentially in the letter how something had gone wrong at Waco and the sleepers were waking up from their programming. Not only were they waking up, but one or more of them had apparently been accidentally triggered. So the Waco sleepers were programmed to make and deliver a biological or chemical device that could kill thousands of people in a city the size of Oklahoma City or Houston. And apparently handlers of these individuals who were programmed stated the program had been accidentally triggered and the 7 sleepers had started building this device. Now, according to the wife of Gunter Russbacher, Paul Wiltshire was not told about this mission as far as the Waco sleepers, that they had been essentially prepared to carry out this manufacturing of this device, right? The construction of this strange chemical device. Which they go into detail about. Very interesting. Gunter Russbacher basically is the primary source for Paul Wiltshire in this letter. And in the letter, in the report, right, he writes this outline from memory, essentially, of the chemical device the sleepers were constructing and alluded to essentially where it would have been used. So, again, sleepers accidentally triggered. They were building this chemical device, which they were planning to potentially use on Oklahoma City. The sleepers had been programmed many years prior to this. And in the ensuing time, according to the letter, it was discovered that the wind currents in Oklahoma City would have dispersed the chemical so that it would have been rendered ineffective. So in other words, it would not have killed the massive number of people that needed to be killed to send a powerful message to the American people. This is according to Gunter Russbacher. The chemical device, which the 7 sleepers were in the process of constructing, could have killed up to 350,000 people. And apparently, whichever department or agency was in control of the sleepers and this specific project made a determination, allegedly, that Houston would be a better target than Oklahoma City because more people would have been killed, apparently. And so you have the 7 sleepers not yet being recalled and reprogrammed with the new instructions, such as dates and locations. So, according to CIA operative Gunter Russbacher, there was another message being sent. Russbacher stated that Randy Weaver, programmed sleeper, indicating Vicky Weaver had somehow deactivated Randy's programming. Russbacher seemed to imply that the attack on Ruby Ridge was intended to send a message not only to the Patriot community, but to all sleepers from the Special Forces community. Some of these sleepers realized they had been programmed and were apparently trying to find the key figures responsible for this sleeper program in order to deactivate it. Russbacher said this was happening in some of the men who had been programmed during the Vietnam War. So again, Phoenix program, right? So Raylene Allen Russbacher is the wife of Gunter Russbacher. She has a fascinating story in her own right, but she wrote a book called The Day I Met the King of the World. She actually went to Offutt Air Force Base with Gunter Russbacher after he was released from Jefferson County prison. Basically, he's in county jail essentially for a time whenever he was hung out to dry. And apparently many of the covert operatives domestically within the U.S. who were a part of his crew, who were apparently involved directly in the October surprise that flew George Bush Sr. to Paris, right? And it was more than that. William Casey, there were so many, it was all the usual suspects of the Old Boys Network who were apparently on that flight. He provided a manifesto. We know exactly which airport he apparently went to. And SR-71s, apparently, there were 5 of them that essentially landed at this airport. And there's a fascinating story as to essentially honestly, in terms of like this covert lifestyle that they were living, as far as Gunter Russbacher and his wife, this is where it became a little bit fascinating, as far as like the level of what they have constructed domestically to provide to their operatives, with that's just kind of like known to these clandestine these individuals within the network itself. They're aware, essentially of these methods in place, like, for example, to provide them with funding for a covert operation that they're apparently greenlit to participate in. You would essentially have apparently they could easily rig casino slot machines for covert operatives to access, to provide them with clandestine money. So it makes much more sense that Stephen Paddock was right. Oh my God.
Yeah, guys, go check out my series on this. We went quite in depth into the specifics of the casino stuff. I never finished that series. I think I only did like 2 or 3 episodes. With the guy, he ended up getting dug into because he's a big researcher. So I think he got sidetracked and we just never followed up. But that was one thing we did hone really deep in, get really into the minutia. He was doing lots of weird running around to different casinos before and kind of right around that time. So yeah, some shenanigans are afoot there, but it totally makes sense. I mean, you look at these people. I mean, it's such a good cover. I mean, when you're talking about that sort of thing, and in that murky world, is kind of just a perfect place to kind of seat these ops.
So she specifically, the wife of Gunter Russbacher, details the fact that apparently they were driving from Winnemucca to Sparks, Nevada, and checked into the Western Motel and Casino. The first thing Gunter Russbacher did was teach her how to find certain slot machines that were designed to fund covert operatives who were in need of funds. After winning about $600, Gunter and his wife ran some errands that were necessary, apparently. And this is all under the chapter of living life on a need-to-know basis. And so, again, it's like realizing the level in which they have legitimately staged, right, these domestic operatives' ability to kind of engage in this clandestine lifestyle is basically another level than we could ever even imagine. And specifically, Gunter
Your
was
stream got
basically
nuked, by the way.
My stream did?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. The stream's nuked, so it's just our rumbles right now. I'm assuming, I don't know if you caught it. I guess it's safe to say now. I didn't want to say it because you're like, oh no, the YouTube gods will notice. I think it was the boob in the intermission. I don't know what happened there.
For real?
Yeah, there was a boob in the intermission.
Oh no. Well, damn
so,
it.
Yeah. Oh well, this will be. I guess it'll be Rumble
I might
/
republish
YouTube.
it, to be honest. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. As long as I don't get a strike. Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I'm sorry if it was a Jeremy Hambley thing, but we didn't even mention the fact there's a rumor out there that he's got a Jew bull, that he's into cucking and all that stuff, which, so I didn't even go into all that. So there's no reason that Jeremy should have gotten your stream. So, but if it's boobs, that's not me. So,
right.
But yeah, everyone loves boobs. It was a tasteful boob. They were like hippies dancing. It wasn't like overtly sexual. It's but anyways, so back to where you were, Austin. I just want to let you know. I didn't really know an easy way to jump into that.
I was wondering what happened. I just noticed the numbers, so yeah, that makes sense. But anyway, it's very important. I think people expose themselves to this line of evidence. I think it's far too, at least to continue with the wife story. It's far too much detail to get bogged down into for the sake of time. But I will say that she mentions that these 4 SR-71s had come into the public municipal airport in Reno, Nevada. And basically, it was very strange. You know, they're one of them had a sleek black titanium hull and was an SR-71 that popped a drag chute as it arrived. And this happened with apparently 5 specifically that were utilized in this October surprise flight that essentially had taken place. And And Gunther had been, he basically went through a flight simulator at Offwood Air Force Base prior to this clandestine operation being given the green light, and him essentially, being activated. And so it's very interesting that we have the flight manifest, we have the individuals who are alleged to have actually been on the flight. So I'm far more in line with legitimately taking this seriously. He goes into basically how there were these Pershing Park killings, is what it's called, essentially this major scandal. And Wiltshire alleged that the CIA was responsible for the death of these 6 people in Pershing Park, the district of, it's basically in DC. And this was in 88 and 89, I believe. And basically you have 6 separate incidents where these strange, suspicious deaths take place. And he believes there are, he alleged these very interesting overt similarities between the deaths as well. There was essentially an unmarked white TV camera van parked at the far end of Pershing Park during each of these deaths, and appeared to be filming the incident from beginning to end. And so it makes sense again that at some level this was priority targeted assassinations of some kind, right? And he goes into far more detail in terms of that playing a role in this, and even kind of it alludes to just far more involvement than people would want to imagine, and a reason why these cases were effectively surfacing and at all at once, right? Because they were tying off loose ends in terms of these domestic operatives that knew too much and were effectively becoming, let's just say, what's it called when you essentially you basically lose your value to the concept of the operation at hand because of the level of involvement you've had in the past, and because of that overexposure and accumulated knowledge, you begin to the compartmentalization of the domestic operations begin to blend, and they start to realize what exactly they are a part of. And I think that not every one of these clandestine operatives operating domestically within the U.S. are ethically, in line, let's just say, with some of the end results and consequences of these operations taking place. And so that's another reason why they kind of compartmentalize this, right? So I think that's important to understand. But again, I think the more smoking guns that we should focus on, and I'll basically try and keep it as brief as possible, is essentially this fascinating connection to the details of the Life Management Institute and the alleged programming of the Branch Davidians. And so essentially there was, and I believe, Henry Lee Lucas might have had some sort of connection to LMI, and that's very strange. And it seems as if just considering the Texas mind control that was linked to these serial murders and things of that nature, it's basically psychological warfare, mind war, shock doctrine is what they refer to it as in a way. But Gunther Brusbacher said he personally, this is insane, because he says he personally taught a super form of neurolinguistic programming to CIA operatives at a school for operatives in Waco, Texas in the early 1960s. The school was called the Life Management Institute, LMI. William Sessions, the former director of the FBI, was a councilman in Waco at the time. So one of the things Gunther basically admitted and disclosed was that he was essentially had gone through a CIA assassin school training compound at a camp outside of Phoenix, Arizona. So the training camp, he claims, was called Centerpoint. And Gunther was very young when he apparently went through this training. It was, I guess, possibly as young as even 17 years old. They're claiming that his wife went on the record saying that she believed it could have been even younger than that. But it makes sense if you remember Wayne Williams from the Atlanta child murders, when he makes that public statement to CNN, when they call him on the 1992, biography that he had written of himself, basically being recruited by the CIA to attend a training camp where he would learn all of these essential techniques and methods to employ within the concept of, being this vital asset or operative within the, this clandestine, just kind of playbook in general, right? But So he went to this training camp allegedly by the age of 17. He's born in 1942, which apparently the center point training that would effectively have placed the date around 1959, maybe even a few years earlier or later, depending on exactly when the training did take place. But one of the things that Gunter was alleging is that his teammates, at least one of them at this training compound, was George Bush Sr. And that essentially he had even been on a boat with George Bush Sr. in a swamp marsh. And he described exactly what was in the marsh that was on the training compound grounds that they were attending together. And so he also claimed that the LMI, which is located in Waco, Life Management Institute, in the early 60s, Gunter happened to be an instructor. And he said that they taught various forms of mind control, obviously this superior form of NLP, and that a few of the students he began to name, who he named as David Koresh, Mark Phillips, and then he goes into the fact that the former FBI director William Sessions, as I mentioned before, was conveniently a member of the city council in Waco during the very years that the LMI was at its height of activity. And so this makes a lot of sense, seemingly aligns with that of like the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic. So many different institutions and organizations kind of fit this just pattern, I guess. But anyway, so this is the October surprise Iran-Contra pilot, essentially making these claims that he taught mind control at the LMI outside Waco. He said Mark Phillips, David Koresh were students. And interestingly, he claims Charles Keating and William Sessions ran an operation against pedophiles out of the LMI, which is very hard to believe. But the fact that he included this in the letter just instantly caught my attention, obviously, because anything regarding the BCCI scandal and just child prostitutes or pedophiles in general. It's hard to imagine William Sessions running an operation against pedophiles out of the LMI where they're legitimately experimenting on the Branch Davidians, at the very least, David Koresh. So Gunter called the operation Operation Cyclone. He says it was shut down when it began to threaten prominent people. LMI, that was the pedophile operation, apparently. LMI National Client List, and this was made public in 2007, signed by the president of LMI, David Byrd. It's linked as well to essentially these clients, including the Central Intelligence Agency, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Union Carbide, General Dynamics, Fairchild Industries, Abbott Laboratories, Microsoft, Monsanto. It's essentially every entity that you could imagine, playing a role in this fundamental strategic clandestine operation. And so it makes a lot of sense. There again, essentially a reflection on the dystopian agenda at large. Each of these, I think the Center for Disease Control was also, and the Texas Hospital Association, the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. I mean, it's ridiculous how many different clients were included with the LMI. So to wind this down to a close, I'll get into the last remaining details, which I did find to be the most vital smoking guns, I would say, out of all of it. But so they called him Captain Russbacher, and he wrote that there were 7 sleepers in the Branch Davidian compound at Waco, but he did not think their programming was sufficient that they could be triggered to carry out any specific actions. Allegedly, Dr. Chom Sun Kim of the Stone Mountain facility had programmed these individuals among the 7 sleepers at the Branch Davidian compound. The Davidian group had been created with the intention of using it to carry out terrorist actions similar to that of obviously the sarin gas attack of the Am Shinrikyo cult, right? That apparently was basically tied back to a government organized mind control plot, right? is really what effectively happened. So you have Gunter Russbacher claiming that within the sleepers of the Branch Davidians, there was a biowar device that they were allegedly building, and the Delta Force operation was implemented and activated to take them out. tie off these loose ends in these I guess the threat of these programmers being potentially off the reservation, I guess, or out of control. Either way, according to this ridiculous letter, safety for entire DFG team if they come forward, right? Redacted. This is what it's quid pro quo is what this is under. They redacted all the names, apparently, at least in regard to the station chief in St. Louis, which was apparently the primary facilitator of the group. Redacted and redacted are missing since July 3rd, 93, last sighting Washington, D.C. But here they go into the purpose of the Waco raid was to target and remove 7 sleepers who refused to adhere to ASA and DIA standards. Sleepers obviously were programmed by this Dr. Chong Sung Kim of the Stone Mountain facility, but Waco compound members had almost completely assembled apparently this nerve gas toxin device. Here we are. Damn it. I was hoping I could get through it with him. But anyway, we lost him again, Jacob.
I know, dude. I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised with how bad the internet is behaving on his end, but
I know.
It's very strange. I will say that much.
It is weird.
Are you not like clearly there's even more compelling details involved in let's just say the allegations being made by the wife of Gunter Russbacher. So I'll say that much as far as for anyone who wants to proceed forward and just I guess digest this for themselves in a way where they can assess the credibility on their own time. I think it's very important to do so, and this is a vital avenue where you could essentially participate in that. But the point being is that apparently you have this toxin, this nerve gas toxin device, which was basically a large enough in quantity to target and destroy all organic life in a 400 square mile area. Now that's pretty interesting. As much as it's hard to believe some of this, right? It's kind of extraordinary allegations. But a city the size of Oklahoma City was obviously intended just before OKC bombing took place. But Houston, Texas was allegedly deemed and designated the principal target. Denver was allegedly considered along with Salt Lake City, Utah. But the mountainous area precludes accurate dispersion measurements and cannot be calculated as to speed of cross dissipation. So the method of dispersal was propeller craft with running airspeed of no more than 60 miles per hour. Cross seeding to be done at 2,500 feet for east-west axis with 2,000 feet for north-south axis. The device in Waco was within very few hours of completion. Order to go in was not made by executive branch. Orders assumed code actual when the infiltrator ASA agent residing within the complex stated code blue. So they're saying that they had an operative inside the compound of the Branch Davidians who legitimately stated a code, a clandestine code, which triggered the operation to go green, right? And so this is when the loose ends were effectively tied off. So
it's always the fucking loose ends.
Right. So apparently they had their man inside was named Dan McGuire, and he was pulled out at that point after registering this code blue, this complex code. And the ATF had men in place inside up until 2 days before the siege began. This is what they claim. Yeah, fuck the feds, Jose. My God. But so Reno spoke to Administrator Redacted and Redacted about a DGF insertion. Okay, so whatever that means, right? Again, this is where we're limited in scope to not having the ability, right, in terms of the information required to actually, the vital details of the names that we need to hold accountable are always often redacted. And that is, of course, the situation we find ourselves in at this moment. But either way, they basically, Reno acted as if she knew nothing about the real problem, which was effectively this device, is the claim being made. So here are the details of the device. Material for the device was appropriated through AF 1324-B. The nitrate component was acquired from Fort Devens, Massachusetts. The volatility stabilizers were brought via truck from Fort Meade, Maryland. All raw and processed material was provided from military stores. The gravity fused detonators were acquired from Carswell U.S. Air Force, Fort Worth, Texas. Transport personnel was found from AAA Services, a subsidiary of Snelling of St. Paul, Minnesota, and apparently there were 2 ATF officers from Galveston in the compound as the shipments arrived. So this is fascinating, right? Like the fact that this information has publicly been exposed, but obviously attempted to kept, like this was honestly a window into facilitating a cover up and not spotlighting any of this vital information, especially considering the death of Paul Wiltshire, which
Right.
again, you know, it's so very obvious that he was targeted to essentially be, you know, assassinated due to his level of involvement with these whistleblowers and clandestine operatives, and all end with Gunter Russbacher's alleged chain of command and how this all was greenlit in the first place. But basically, what you have is beyond the material and the transportation of the shipments and all of this, you had technical assistance and handling and construction being flown into Dallas from Dover, Delaware. The techs were ASA and USA Chemical Corps personnel, and there's a list of these individuals: Robert Becker, Charles Whitehead, Stanley Brownfeld, NGO Den Fung, apparently Pearl Lance, and Dorothy Palmer. So chemical raw weight prior to this alleged chemior spectra separation. Again, this is all very detailed, you know, language, clearly. Now, I don't know, that tends to lend to the credibility of something, but at the same time, it's like there have been very sophisticated limited hangouts. Let's just put it that way, right? So you had molten metal fused to kitchen appliances. This is apparently sulfur zinc volatile mass is at 65 kilograms apparently of these kitchen appliances that were fused to get together as molten metal. It did not ignite past the prima stage. The cerebroneurotoxins of the C2 nerve gas propellant ignited under a stress measure of 0.25 psi, causing neurotoxins to incinerate at a 0 level. Immediate reports were unavailable for 11 hours. And basically, because it was too hot to enter the compound, this was the Branch Davidian complex, obviously, due to unresolved neurotoxic density at a 0 level. Now, entire first and squad wore toxic suits and double masks, right? Hazmat suits, basically, to enter Waco. If you remember, that was the first people to actually enter the compound. They were entirely kitted in hazmat suits, and they removed, I believe it was a major a portion of topsoil, and that was by design.
Well, yeah, because there was a nerve agent that they exposed everyone to.
Exactly.
Because they exposed all the kids and all the remaining people to a nerve agent, so they couldn't run out of the building before they burnt it down.
Yep. And then the Delta Force operatives would go into essentially, I think David Koresh, his wounds were not of a suicidal nature, as much as the people would have you believe that that is the case, where they will claim that one of his basically one of his lieutenants pulled the trigger, right, and then killed himself, is what many people assume. But you know, it could have very well have been the Delta Force operatives on the ground who were acting as if they were ATF officials and things of that nature, and in reality, they were.
Don't forget the there's that team from the FBI. It's like the rapid response team or whatever the fuck, and those guys had guns trained on those people at all times.
All times, man. Exactly. So, and again, this is in no way an indictment of any of the individual Branch Davidians inside the compound. I'm not in any way trying to, you know, discredit the level of let's just say the dystopian level of the state, essentially, you know, overreaching to such an extent to where I think they viewed this as an opportunity to essentially strike fear in the heart of the American public. That's what it really felt like to me, and especially who the Branch Davidians allegedly represented ideologically speaking. That was the essentially the what's it called, it was the specific demographic, right? That they
Right.
would have strategically targeted in that way, especially during PatCon and the
Oh, yeah.
major militia movements in terms of the right wing militia movement, which obviously,
Right.
yeah, whatever that means. But anyway, so basically, they had these essentially they had numerous base mineral clusters found fused to small ordnances, right? Is allegedly
Right.
what had happened as well. The device was in 5 parts, kept in separate munitions bunkers, level 2 and 3. The mineral gaseous mass found at ground zero were massed to various kitchen appliances and indicate that the compound of the mass was jellied. So basically, incineration occurred through the introduction of these 80 to 90 millimeter 20-pound glycerin canisters, which held a flash point of 175 degrees Fahrenheit to accelerate the focused flash point. This is what they claim happened. So a C-24 tear gas canister was inserted via 90 millimeter Bradley barrels, right? The Bradley fighting vehicles. Obviously, we've seen the incendiary rounds. And so into the RIP structure to facilitate the ignition, and a combination of oxygen and dimethyl alcohol was injected into the structure at intervals. This ignition occurred electronically for secondaries, basically being delivered via mercury acid fuses located at canister's base. So again, that's the sophisticated version of the Waco fire, right? The fire that destroyed the compound. So,
Oh, you mean the fire that the Davidians set themselves?
yeah, exactly. Seems a little
Because
bit
they
far
were
too
just crazy
sophisticated.
and didn't want to give up.
So basically, there was also a perimeter and that was formed by these blue jacket ATF agents, as you recall.
Right.
And this is zero's lives were saved from this ridiculous torturous event, right? This diabolical example that we've pointed out far too often. But anyway, essentially what you have is that Gunther, this is one of the more interesting aspects of this. He claims that only strong love and belief in God were the only things that could derail programming.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
No
He made
kidding.
this statement while he was talking about the reason why Vicky Weaver was specifically targeted as the spiritual leader of the family. And obviously, Colonel Bo Gritz says that as he was called up to Ruby Ridge as a hostage negotiator, because he was a Green Beret Special Forces commander who trained the Afghan Mujahideen on American military bases, he claimed that he already had a personal relationship with Randy Weaver, right?
Right.
That's the reason why they called him up there. And so he says that he viewed the orders of operations and what was actually meant to be done by the individual operatives on the ground who set up that base camp known as Camp Vicky just after Lon Horiuchi, the sniper with confirmed kills at Waco, would decide to open fire with the mother of Vicky Weaver and wife with an infant child in her arms as she opens the door. And then obviously the wife and mother, Vicky Weaver, would be covered in a sheet underneath the table of the Weaver family home throughout that entire standoff, right? Imagine the emotional toll and the trauma as far as the traumatic consequences of that taking a toll upon those children at the very least. But the fact that he had seen the orders of operation and they had claimed that Vicky Weaver was the primary target. And if they had the opportunity to take Vicky Weaver out, right? So they kill her. Now, it makes a lot more sense if she actually was the reason that Randy woke up to his prior programming, and then they freaked out and moved all the way to Ruby Ridge to try and isolate themselves while they figured out what exactly was going on. And Randy was recovering from his Green Beret, behavioral modification experimentation experience. Just saying. It's I mean, by the way, he wasn't killed. Right. It's like, so it is interesting.
Well, I think that was honestly kind of an insult, though, because like, watch, we're going to kill your family right in front of you and you're going to have to live with it the rest of your life, you know?
Right. Yeah. You're not wrong, man. But the fact that he even mentions a pedophile operation out of the LMI,
Right.
that they had to shut down because it essentially was targeting two just prominent figures that were obviously within the political, kind of establishment. That was the reason in which they shut down that operation that was apparently investigating in this pedophile underworld.
Right.
But so yeah, the strong belief in God and being one of the
Hey,
only.
we've got to get people up. So
I'm almost done with this, man. I got to finish it though at this point. So
no, that's fine. I'm just saying, people have got to go, and we can't go on forever. So
if you got to go, you can jet, brother. Honestly,
no, I don't got to
all
go.
good.
It's just people that want to come up have got to go.
Okay. Well, if they want to come up, they can come up. I just got to finish this. So it's all good. I just honestly, this is for me half the time, right? Just because this is just as in
Yeah.
terms
Do you
of
hear that, guys? Fuck y'all.
overexposure. No, I love you guys. You know this. But the point being is that whenever it comes down to it, this is explosive information that I think the vast majority of people have never really been exposed to. And so I think the value of that basically is the entire reason, the priority in which I'm doing a show to begin with. So that is the only reason I would make this a priority, especially because I am at the tail end of these details, and it's fascinating for sure. But so here's the interesting aspect. Randy Weaver, right, obviously was involved in special operations and was in fact exposed to this behavioral modification experimentation throughout that process, subjected to mind control. So it was called Operation Clydesdale, according to Gunther Russbacher. And this operation is not one single word, Clydesdale. It's actually two words, Clydesdale. So in CIA covert operations, apparently an umbrella operation itself is always two words. That's something I think people should understand as well, according to this clandestine operative. So in official CIA files, the real name of Operation Clydesdale is the two words, right? So Clydesdale started in the early 1980s as a special operations group to identify, track down, and exterminate the pedophiles who were kidnapping children from the streets of New York City and using them to make pedophile snuff films. So, or child pornography, whatever. But obviously, it inevitably would ultimately wind up in the form of an unfortunate snuff film participation within the scope of the enterprise. So, some of the children obviously killed in these snuff films, or some of them were apparently sold into what they termed as white slavery. So others were programmed and used in projects similar to Project Monarch, which he actually states on the record, right? All were tortured in satanic rituals. And this is according to Russbacher himself. So Rudolph Giuliani, not William Sessions, was apparently the man Gunther Russbacher was originally reporting to. Giuliani was the United States attorney for the New York City area at the time. And that was during this Operation Clydesdale. So again, it makes sense why he would then kind of go under the tutelage of William Sessions whenever he arrives at the LMI, right? So
I'm bringing you guys up, but I'm muting you until you have something to say, and also until Austin's done cooking. So
I'm almost done, man. I'm almost done. But the fact that yeah, I mean, obviously it makes sense, right? William Sessions is running the operation out of the LMI in Waco. So the fact that he would essentially pivot to his handler becoming William Sessions when he goes to Texas under a separate operation, it makes sense. But apparently they were also running that it wasn't Clydesdale clearly that they were running out of the LMI, but the point is,
right,
it was in New York City when that was taking place. So he worked closely with Division 5 of the FBI, allegedly the counterterrorism unit, to which Gunther was attached to at the time. And Gunther worked directly under the man who was in charge of all special operations groups. And apparently this was General Hugh Shelton, right? And Gunther claimed that there were 4,000 people in his downline. So it shows the scope of how, the level of these domestic operations and the assets that are available to them. So the insertion into these Eastern Bloc countries, he had flown to Moscow. He had like legitimately come back with Russian cigarettes that his wife witnessed for herself. It's fascinating how much he legitimately was a part of. And it was because of his knowledge of the October surprise that he was actually targeted for assassination, right? Because essentially they wanted all those loose ends who participated in the October surprise, specifically the flight where we received that manifesto, William Casey, all these usual suspects, including George Bush Sr. Then obviously he was prioritized because of this knowledge and because he was blowing that whistle. And so you had members of the SEAL team that were effectively dying in helicopter crashes domestically all over the United States whenever this was happening. And Gunther himself pointed out many of these cases and even explicitly, basically, exposed the details as well. But anyway, so Clydesdale, it's fascinating because the origin of Operation Clydesdale was basically in operation since the early 80s, maybe even as soon as the late 70s. But it started out as 900 sex phone lines, and it graduated to porn catalogs and soft porn films, is the claim. One of the filmmakers who was involved with Operation Clydesdale happened to live in Arkansas and was a girlfriend of Bill Clinton's. So that at least the wife of this individual filmmaker apparently was the girlfriend of Bill Clinton. So she told Clinton she was pregnant with his child. She allegedly threatened him in some way. And Gunther was not specific as to how this allegedly took place. But Clinton apparently put out a hit on her, and she and her husband happened to burn to death in their mansion in Arkansas.
Bro, isn't that fucking convenient?
I'm telling you, man. So anyway, and again, I swear we're almost through this. But William Sessions, the reason he did not stop the Waco massacre basically is because he was under house arrest at the time. This is according to the fact that I'm not certain William Sessions would have actively, squashed this effectively taking place at the time anyway. But he and his family allegedly were threatened to be killed if they even entertained the notion of basically involving themselves. So I think Alice Sessions and Gunther had a conversation in December of '93 as well. And Alice told Gunther that she and Bill were still just trying to stay alive, right? Which is strange. But anyway, so William Sessions not only was on the city council in Waco, but he knew he could just apparently end the bloodshed at any moment. But because he was threatened, he refused to do this, and he was not allowed apparently to go forward with any sort of, attempting to halt this ongoing siege. But so he was ordered by President Bill Clinton at the time to basically stay in Washington. And so Sessions had no real conversations, with Janet Reno or Bill Clinton during the Waco siege. And he was essentially kept out of the loop entirely by the president. So Waco, obviously, Center for CIA Mind Control Research at the LMI, but Sessions was almost I would think it's almost certain that he was probably involved, to some extent. But Sessions knew that the Branch Davidians were part of this CIA mind control experimentation. And essentially, Paul Wiltshire, he didn't realize that this device was being manufactured by the Davidians, allegedly, so used to kill, apparently, conceptually, it was going to be used to kill thousands of people. But Sessions was aware of this, and I think that's more than likely why you had, they alleged that there was a laboratory that was under the compound, and this is where the methamphetamine was allegedly being cooked, that obviously all those ridiculous just articles and awesome, dude. This shit is legit compelling. If I knew Austin had this much in the can, would have insisted on leading with it. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry, guys. I just legitimately, I hung out with Thomas from Paranoid American yesterday for 3.5 hours. and like I legit went back down this rabbit hole of discussing Paul Wiltshire, the Wiltshire Report, Gunther Russbacher. And I was trying to just like, okay, after the fact, I need to refresh this all in my mind. So I go back and kind of probe back through some of this evidence. And then all of a sudden the world opens up to me. And I realize, holy shit, there's far more compelling details here than I ever would have imagined, right? And there are separate avenues that are worthwhile in pursuing. And so it's possible, by the way, that the women and children were contaminated with the poison, allegedly the nerve toxin, during the assault on the 19th. And so what they were claiming is that if those women and children had been released, their presence alone would have killed their rescuers and even alerted the world as to what was really happening at Waco. So this would have blown the lid basically completely off basically the majority of mind control programs that the government was engaging in, such as Operation Open Eyes, the mind control operation allegedly behind the current school shooting phenomena, which I didn't realize it had a specific name, Operation Open Eyes, which makes a lot of sense. And there's a book called Operation Open Eyes, Five Easy Steps to Create a Manchurian Candidate, and it's mind-boggling stuff. And so the final point here is that it's also very much possible. It's a possibility that there essentially was a lot more going on at the compound than any of us are aware of, and that Gunther Russbacher and the Delta Force group had actually been aware of this and exposed to these details. And so effectively there was this underground laboratory. In the lab that the FBI claimed was making methamphetamine by the Branch Davidians, it's actually possible that this lab was creating biologicals, is what they claim, right? So essentially the Branch Davidian compound was and could have been a legitimate, let's just say, a strategic asset, right, in potentially causing people to become walking biological time bombs, is what they were referred to by Gunther Russbacher. So there could very much be far more to Waco than any of us will ever be aware of, obviously. And I would think the vast majority of these people who had any knowledge whatsoever have been killed, by this point. And knowing just through the details I've been exposed to over today, legitimately proved that there's like well over, I think a handful, 10 plus cases of people who just had suspicious deaths who were connected to these covert operatives in the SEAL team that Gunther Russbacher was a part of, and with the October surprise. So the connection between Waco and Operation Clydesdale is somewhat tenuous, I guess. But, just because we're having to solely rely on the claims being made by Gunther, but Clydesdale was specifically the operation to kill pedophiles, apparently, for kidnapping and killing children, which, hey, tell me about an operation that I actually would get behind. I never thought that day would come. But the point being is that some of these children were obviously, they developed multiple personalities. And so I just think that, we clearly have to look at Project Monarch being facilitated through some of these very same facilities is the concept that I'm playing with in a way. But anyway, there's far more than that, but I love you guys. And I really appreciate you letting me get that all out. And I apologize. I know it was a lot, but I got nothing but love for you. So thank you for letting me do my thing.
Rule number one of Already Dead is let Austin cook.
Stop it.
So why is it that you aren't doing your independent show more often? Just out of curiosity. Not that I dislike that, because I enjoyed every second of it. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Honestly, it's because my entire solo project has nothing to do with this specifically. And I keep falling down these proverbial rabbit holes into areas that bog me down. And it's really been the mismanagement of my schedule more than anything, I would say, because, I'm just doing a lot of interviews. And so it's hard for me to take the time necessary.
Got to get you an AI agent or something, dude.
Right. Yeah. I just, Hey, I know, right? We should have actually done a part 2 for Waco weirdness. Is probably what we should have done. But hey, man,
Never
there's still
ends.
way more to this. Obviously,
Autism, GPT.
But what I was thinking is like you would think for the Waco shit when they come out like, oh, they had these fucking yeah, all the little whatever fucking brain melting shit they had. You think they would lead with that? Like, yeah, we burned the whole complex down because they were making, fucking zombies out of nowhere. But they took forever long to say anything about that. Like they just went with, yeah, they had fucking grenades. And so we burned the fucking place down. Like you think you would lead with like, yeah, they were gonna make fucking zombies that were gonna take over the goddamn world and melt your fucking shit, and they're gonna throw fucking dust in your eyes and turn you into some crazy shit. Like nothing about that was said, but now it's coming now. After looking into it, you're like, that's all they had to say in the '90s, and it had been fucking done. Like, it was like, oh, everyone would be, I'd be sucking Janet Reno's dick right now. Oh, I thought I was just saved the world.
oh my god.
I
But
don't
what the
know.
fuck? Like, why is that the last thing to come out? I mean, I believe it. Like, yeah, I believe that they had the MK Ultra crazy shit going on, but to not lead with that is crazy. But I guess that
Mm.
would maybe show or kind of expose the other shit. I don't know. I
They,
mean,
they can't lead with that because then they have a whole fuck ton of
right?
explaining
And then
to
they had
do.
to like back foot on Jonestown. Like, well,
Right.
For real.
but in the '90s, no one was gonna think about that. Just say it, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, they're fucking right." Like, no one's gonna be like, wait a second, because none of this is coming out till at least 10, 15 years later. They could have just said that, and then everyone would have fucking bit it. The goddamn Orson Welles had people thinking the aliens were coming, and no one batted an eye. They just went crazy and went to their fucking whatever, their tornado tombs. And that was in what, like the 50s when he was doing the War of the World shit. Like they
Right.
already spun a fucking number there.
Mhm.
You already have people, chomping at the bit. Like you would think, ah, fuck it, like this crazy thing that everyone's going on, unless obviously the nefarious reasons behind it, and then we get to where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to talk about some slop. Netflix came out with this roast of Kevin Hart, which I don't know if you ever watched these roasts.
I've
They
seen
just
a lot of roasts. I haven't seen this one, but I have
Fuck
seen
yeah.
clips.
okay.
Yeah, I
So
saw clips. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great actually.
So
It seems pretty funny.
So the thing that I keyed in on to is when Shane Gillis was roasting Chelsea Handler. So here's kind of his joke,
Called
right?
her out fucking hard.
So here's kind of his joke, right? Chelsea Handler is a Zionist. Pause. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Pause. Speaking of killing children, she's been scraped more times than a grill at Benihana, tossing tiny shrimp into people's mouths.
Children's mouths.
Children's mouths.
Oh, God.
And she was in the Epstein files. There's multiple articles on it. Look it up.
Yeah, he's like, they had a small dinner. There's like 7 people
So,
there.
yeah, it was like, it's a small dinner. It had a.
Also, I've never been to Benihana, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
Woody Allen, Katie Couric,
Jeffrey Epstein, of course.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, you already said Woody Allen, right?
Yeah, and Katie Couric and George Stephanopoulos, Charlie Rose, and it was all set up by this is in 2010.
Yeah,
so
he
this
said
is
2010.
So post the
Good year for
2000
him.
post the 2008 conviction, and it was all set up by a young lady named Peggy Ziegler, who apparently had the golden Rolodex or whatever, and she connected to Jeffrey Epstein to get him A-list celebrities and young actresses and shit. But
What a luxury.
But the whole thing is that, like, it's just rubbing it in the face of people that know the story and kind of confirms the coded language.
Yeah,
You know,
and she's
in
like, "Yeah,
in
I'm
the
a
files.
Zionist," blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and then the
Yeah.
show goes on.
Yeah, and the show goes on, and they're just, rubbing it in the faces. It's just classic revelation of the method and
Like,
just
it's a roast. Of course they're gonna
yeah.
say that shit. But
I
and I
mean,
get it,
Yeah,
which is
but
good roast.
if you watched anything like any of the jokes that were pointed towards Chelsea Handler, I don't think a single one of them were fucking jokes.
Yeah,
at all.
Well, that's if
Like
you watch
she
any
is
roast,
genuinely hated.
if you watch
Yeah.
like any roast in the last, I mean, since I've seen any roast for at least 20 years, there's always some like pedophile crazy shit jokes in the roast, and you're always like, now
Well,
it's like it seems more like holy shit. But
there
when
there
I
was
was watching it back then, it's like but now it's all
there
coming.
was even a joke. Shane Gillis kept talking about how there like the whole room was filled full of pedophiles. He made that
Yeah.
joke a couple
More
of
than
times.
likely.
Oh, and The Rock was talking about Kevin Hart sucking his titty.
Yeah.
And it just
He's
the
like,
Yeah,
why
whole
it
don't
was
you want to suck
that
my
was
tit?
all fucking weird. Telling
Yeah.
him to sit on his lap, little buddy, and
Oh,
See, the
yeah.
word,
Just treat
the
him like a
odd part
child.
about it is like this is how I talk to my coworkers. So I'm like, well, I get it. This is my everyday lingo. Like this is how I talk to everybody. I mean, they're lucky if it comes to my tit. I'm usually talking about my phallus at that point, but
Yeah.
so I get the roast, but that's because I'm a sick fucking bastard. Like,
Yeah. But I mean, we've already had Bob's and Vagine. Go and bring your phallus in it. This brings the whole podcast full circle.
but there are definitely some sick, twisted people up there, and I mean that's every like the Charlie Sheen roast. I mean, every single roast I've ever seen, they're all great. I enjoyed every single one. The jokes are fucking right down my alley. But everyone's always like, I guess we'll forget about it in like a fucking week or two.
Yeah,
Even
but I
though
mean,
the truth is right there.
the point I was making was, affirming the coded language and just publicly stating that, this is fact, which it all is. It's all well documented. But basically standing up there and saying, hey, we diddle the kiddles and we get away with it. And there's nothing you guys can do about it.
Yeah, and we're
I
gonna joke
disagree.
about it, and y'all
I
gonna sit
disagree.
there and eat it.
I mean, do you think Shane Gillis is a pedophile?
No, but I do get the jokes. So I mean, Chelsea Handler. I don't know if she fucking diddled kids. She's a crazy bitch. Maybe.
She diddled kids.
Yeah,
she
when I-
But
definitely
she was
diddled
still around the people who did
kids.
it. Either
when
way.
I say we, I'm meaning like the royal we, like the social elite. I mean, obviously,
And
on
like,
the panel was Draymond Green was on there, so it
Right.
really
Which
it
was
really
funny
wasn't.
because he kept getting food.
It wasn't really like there was elite billionaires up
but then
there.
you get Kevin Hart and Cat Williams. Like,
Yeah,
he's
I mean,
like,
they're-
oh, I didn't think I'd be on here after all the shit he said. Which I don't know. I mean, I assume Cat Williams is probably one of the. Yeah, fuck all I know. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe he was at
Dude.
a parties. Otherwise, why would he
Yeah.
know?
I don't know.
But
My point was fuck all about the jokes. The Charlie Kirk jokes were funny, but
they're all the jokes were pretty funny to me.
I mean, Hinchcliffe would be the reason that if I invest time watching it, would just
Honestly,
to see
he's the only one worth watching out of the roast.
Yeah, but
once again, I don't think a lot of those, especially to Chelsea Handler, were jokes.
no. And then there was that one black chick that got up and had this struggle session with Shane about not saying
Yeah.
the N word, but
talking about how free speech is alive tonight, but Shane, don't you dare say the N word.
Well, I think there's probably something in the Netflix contract about them, not
Also,
dropping
I
not
think
dropping the
I'm
N-bomb.
sure there is, but she can't turn around and be like, "Oh, free speech is alive tonight."
Yeah,
like,
but
I know for a fact that there's something in the contract, especially about Whitey saying the N word. But
I just don't feel like Shane ever really says the N word that much. Like, if anything, I would aim that joke at like Tony Hinchcliffe.
he doesn't say it either.
Yeah, but it would seem like he'd be the more one to say it over Shane Gillis. Like, it doesn't seem like.
I disagree. I mean,
Really?
maybe it's because I watch Kill Tony all the time. Like he literally dances around it so hard.
I guess so. Maybe because he's like the main guy.
Yeah, but I mean,
it just seems like there could be other people you'd be like, don't say that. Also, retarded. I'll say fucking nigga all the time.
Yeah, but I mean that all of that aside, that wasn't my point. But yeah. I think my point's buried in there somewhere between what I said and however many drinks of vodka Rage is drinking. So but I think Jacob was getting what I was picking up what I was laying down.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah.
And also, I just think, I mean, especially if, like, growing up, like, seeing the rise of Kevin Hart and kind of the way it was always, and that's the whole reason they had the beef with Cat Williams, because allegedly it was like Cat Williams wasn't taking they needed, like, the little black guy, and it was either Kevin Hart or Cat Williams, and then they're like, which one? Allegedly it was like, Cat Williams was gonna do like the degrading little black guy shit that everyone wanted him to do, but Kevin Hart was gung ho for doing all that little, degrading himself in a way.
In the same vein of Hollywood rituals and
that's why he had to suck the Rock's tit.
Of shit like that is that there were several jokes made about Kevin Hart and being at Diddy parties and baby oil and shit like that.
There's no way he wasn't at those fucking parties. Like,
there's pictures of him there, but
shit, I was there too.
No, you weren't, you fucking liar.
All right, you got me.
Yeah. But the whole thing is just, like, there's just debaucherous stuff. It's all tied into, the Hollywood elites. There's all these just humiliation rituals. It's tied into, the Epstein network and, just exposing it, making a joke out of it. And
the baby oil joke that Cat Williams made. I'm just like sitting there. It was hilarious.
All great jokes,
but
by
at
the way.
the same time, it was very funny, but I'm also sitting there realizing this is the Epstein class.
Yeah, you're like, damn, these jokes are a little too close.
So it's like, as funny as some of these guys are, and I don't trust any of them. And I think if you're invited to that roast, right, you're entirely compromised. I don't trust you. You're not on the forefront of
and they all have the
accountability. You're
jokes
not
written.
pursuing justice. You're going to make a clown show out of it all, and people will legitimately be willing to accept it and move on with no actual justice being pursued whatsoever. That is the result of these ridiculous, hyper, let's say, appealing kind of social events that everyone likes to participate in. Dude, fuck that. I'll never watch a roast in my life. I just saw the clips that were forced into my algorithm. And I do appreciate just professional comedians, and the style in which many of them, but hey, man, I prefer, my brother Sam Tripoli. I know who's acting in good faith, that I don't have to question his moral compass, and I'm not going to sit there and try and act like I know any of these strange people who legitimately go to these parties and are entirely compromised by the Hollywood industrial complex. So they're not on any pedestal, in my opinion.
And they write all the jokes.
Whatsoever.
They all know what jokes are coming. Like, it's not like, oh my god, a surprise.
No, it's all
like, they're
planned out.
written.
Yeah,
Well, I
they
mean,
actually it's called rehearsal. They go to
Yeah,
rehearsal
they're
and
all
they
written.
craft the
They're all
jokes and everybody
waiting.
writes them for
They
them.
all fucking
Yeah.
know what's
but
happening. Like it's not like oh my god, you just got the drop on me. It's like you
yeah,
fucking know what's happening. It's not like let's just fucking raw dog it right now.
Right.
yeah.
None of those were original jokes except for like a few of Shane Gillis and obviously
And
what's
the
the name?
people
Why
who
am I
are on the
forgetting?
roast
Yeah.
now are the ones who are writing jokes for the roast
Yeah.
for the past 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Tony Hinchcliffe was
But
writing jokes for the roast for forever. You
Yeah,
know?
but
forever.
do
Yeah. Mhm.
but you do understand that the through line here of the
They're all
comedian
pedophiles.
is well, no, it's the role of the jester, you know.
Yeah, to
It's
get us all,
we're allowed to say
especially
to
right now.
we're allowed to say to the king, you know, we're allowed to test the limits of, you know, what is acceptable speech, you know.
Yeah, but
And so
it's not in the vein of legitimately exposing the truth in a way that's vital and valuable moving forward in any way that will change the system in the way it's structured. It's only going to further I think it really just appeals to the general public who will embrace this concept
Yeah,
and laugh it off and move on
and
with
it's like softening the punch.
softens the blow. Exactly.
Yeah, where it's like, hey, yeah,
So fuck all
whoa.
comedians. Like
No,
well,
not
no,
necessarily. I'm
no,
saying
no, no,
it's
no. You can't have it both ways
no,
though.
I can because
No, I've seen some
there are
comedians go
comedians who aren't
fucking crazy.
engaging in that sinister form of deception, right? And so
yeah.
those are the comedians I
But he put
value,
it
but
on
they
Netflix. You know
certainly
what's crazy?
they
I
aren't being
heard
invited into the Netflix roast. Is the
the
point I'm making,
dude,
Yeah.
right?
the
Yeah,
past
it's
owner
not
who was
happening.
like the nephew of Bernays or whatever the fuck. He was neighbors to Clinton, like
Yeah, he's
the
also not at
original owner.
Netflix anymore. Oh, the Obamas have more say over Netflix
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, so it was like
But
the old original co-owner. He was a fucking neighbor to Bill Clinton. Like how the fuck? And then to be like, yeah, no, it's the same shit. We're like,
Okay,
oh, they
being a
just
neighbor
started this
doesn't
stuff.
mean jack shit though.
yeah,
I
but
guess in Arkansas, you could be fucking way the fuck out there. No
yeah.
I
offense.
mean,
Yeah,
because dude,
In
like
in
go
Arkansas,
look at who is actually neighbors to who. It's not hard to find.
You know who
And
my neighbor
that
is?
doesn't
It's a
who
bunch
is your
of I don't
neighbor?
know who my neighbor is, but their goddamn pit bull attacked my dog on Saturday. So I don't know. Neighbors
oh
kind
my
of matter.
god,
anyway.
No,
that
no, no. I'm
sucks.
not
Yeah.
saying neighbors don't matter. Don't twist my fucking words. What I'm saying is that
I've never
we're
been a
trying to be
neighbor
like,
to a
oh,
presidential candidate,
who
and I
and
probably
so
never
so and so
will.
was fucking neighbors with Bill Clinton, blah blah blah. So that means something. No, it doesn't.
He also
No, it
started
doesn't.
Netflix, so it's kind
Dude,
of a.
That means something.
did you
That
guys see
means
this?
something.
Did you see
Oh, the
this?
dude, he's
Yes.
Netanyahu's fucking security.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, as this tweet from Shadow of Ezra states,
Chris Handsome.
yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu's former personal security guard has been caught in an undercover sting operation sending sexually explicit messages to an undercover detective posing as a teenage boy. Quote, "You were involved in security for the Israeli leader Netanyahu? You had multiple chances not to commit this crime, but you did anyway?" It is crazy, actually.
We're involved in security for the Israeli president, Netanyahu. Did you meet the Israeli leader?
I'm sorry, I'm not answering any questions, so I can speak to an attorney.
You sent photos of your penis erect?
You had erect.
You told the boy you ruined your shorts.
I fucking love Chris.
Meaning you
Hansen.
ejaculated while you were
ruined your
talking to him.
He's a Zionist.
You asked
I'm
for
not saying it's a bad thing.
explicit pictures of him.
You ruined
You
your
say
shorts.
Dude, if I have to pick and
His voice-
choose every little thing like that, everyone terrible has something about them. Like I'm never gonna like anyone.
You
Hey, I'm
had
with you, buddy. I'm with you. I compartmentalize it all as much as I can so I can still appreciate what I find funny and entertaining and value it for what it is. But in no way do I connect it to the personal individual in a way in which I put them on a pedestal, I should say. And
you
so I
wanted to
agree
have
wholeheartedly.
sex.
Yeah.
Just like Chris Hansen, he fucking hates the independent pedophile catching groups, but dude, some
Right.
of them are way better than what he does.
That's very true.
So it's like
man.
it's like I get it, but not everyone needs to work with law enforcement because law enforcement is compromised and they're a bunch of lazy fucks in many
Yeah, it
jurisdictions.
takes
So
fucking an eternity to get anything done. I have to hear this
Right.
shit about the SAPD all the time. Every single little thing that comes up on the news. Oh, well, SAPD ain't gonna do shit about that. It's like literally every single comment. Oh, San Antonio Police Department ain't gonna do shit about that.
Right.
Like over and over and over, and it's fucking true.
Mm. All right, I'm gonna play the rest of this, and then I guess we can wind down. If you guys got anything left to say, I'm in.
This was illegal. And you had multiple chances to not commit this crime, but you did anyway. Which makes me wonder how many times you've gotten away with it before.
Seems
Do you
like
have
it's
CSAM
like-
on your phone?
I'm sorry, I'm not answering any questions until I can speak to an attorney.
You talk about being busy in training.
I'm
The
eating
boy says his
spaghetti.
parents will be out of town at a work conference.
The
How
fucking
long was your
zoom
drive
in.
over here today from your home in Maryland?
I'm pretty sure he has a
Oh, I'm
clip.
sorry, I'm
He's
not
like, I'm not
answering any
taking the
questions until I speak
sunglasses
to an
off.
attorney.
You talked about taking him out after
dude.
getting to know him for cheesesteaks.
Damn,
And if
what
it
a
goes
cheap
well,
ass.
you say you'll meet the monster at the end of the happy trail. Just tell me what
You
you meant.
sick fuck.
Oh my
I'm sorry, I'm not
goodness.
answering any questions until I can
You
speak to an
sick
attorney.
fuck.
You feel pretty good about yourself today, huh?
Yeah, take me out to a steak dinner.
Think
for
you were
anything.
outsmarting
Good
everyone?
Lord. That kid's
A
lowballing
month and a
himself.
day you spent chatting with someone who told you they're 15.
Dude, he
Not
was
just a
speaking
cop,
to
but
a fucking lieutenant.
You sent
Yeah.
pictures of yourself in you. You sent
Oh.
pictures of yourself from your office at the
Rock
Metro
hard.
DC Police Department, lounging on your couch.
How do they know
grooming
he
a
was
cop.
erect?
What should happen to you, Lieutenant?
Because he
I'm sorry,
showed
I'm not answering any
pictures.
questions until I can
Right,
speak
because
to
they
an
were.
attorney.
I saw the veins.
Yeah. Three veins.
It's
Three
all
tiny
that.
little veins.
That's the state of the world we're living in. And meanwhile, Netanyahu made a public statement. You saw him
He's
say,
like
right?
grabbing the
where-
phone. He's like, "Look,
he's
you
in
see
charge.
this? I could turn
Yeah.
anyone into a monster with this." And the
Dude.
dude's like, "Please get your fucking hands off my phone."
All
I
I know
would
is,
throw that phone away. Like, dude, it's gonna blow up on my way fucking home.
yeah, for real though. But no, I mean, I guess this conflict in the Middle East with Iran is all on Netanyahu's terms, right? So
Apparently, Saudi
if we didn't
Arabia
know
in
this-
just
charge.
like Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia just like attacked Iran. I saw that at the end of the Spurs game. It said it on the bottom.
Yeah,
That Saudi
and
Arabia like did some shit to Iran.
the
Or
United
I
Arab,
don't know how you pronounce it.
yeah,
Iran,
the
fuck.
United Arab Emirates also got in on the action too. So
Sounds like bullshit to me, but
it's never ending, my friends. I know that much. But
I've
And
actually
then
got
Trump's
to take
like,
off,
what did he
fellas.
say earlier?
So
They're
you
like,
guys are
"Do
gonna have
you
to close
care?"
it. Rage, hold on a sec.
My fault.
No, you're good. You're good,
Let
dude.
Jacob do his plugs.
Yeah, I gotta take off, but so you guys will have to close out. But allmylinks.com/rise to liberty, beware the mockingbird on Substack, and that's pretty much it. Although new I'm actually now just launching a new collaboration with Cult of Conspiracy podcast. I will now be launched on their network. So make sure and go and check out all the cool stuff over there. There will be one episode a month launched on their network that's exclusively for their network, and that's it. So but other than that, allmylinks.com/rise to liberty, and I will see everybody next week.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Rock
Later, brother.
on.
Yeah. Love you guys.
Love you
Live
too,
to you,
man.
partner.
I
All
only
right,
have-
boys.
I only
What you
have
got
one-
left before we get out of here?
I only have one plug. My middle daughter graduated high school yesterday as the valedictorian.
Rock
So
and roll.
the little black girls 2 years in a row. So number
That's
one
awesome.
out of 259. Worked really hard for it. Killed her speech. Did a great job. Jose's plugs. You can find him on Patreon at No Way Jose
Am I-
2020 and every episode he gives. Well, I guess you need to check out the Morning Dump weekdays at or around 11 o'clock. You can't find it on YouTube this week due to some unfortunate circumstances.
Probably his haircut.
Nothing to do with boobs. So he's on Rumble at Noe Jose, and at the end of each episode, he calls out his Patreons, which are Abrogate D's, big fan of the show Torrin May. God, I don't know them all. Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy podcast, and that beautiful bastard John Black. So
yeah, buddy. I love you, John. I appreciate you, brother. Hey, right before you leave though, so the UFO disclosure, right? You saw the
star?
I think it was Congressman or Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. She's the one. She basically posted that opening, the Pentagon basically declassified at the same time that 8-pointed star UFO allegedly, right?
It looked like a fucking compass.
Hey, dude, it was so funny. I saw a picture. I have to show you guys. But Ophanim apparently, right, described as multi-eyed angels in Dead Sea Scrolls. So that's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
Just as far as like the timing, right? It's a little bit, I don't know, worthwhile and just questioning at the very least. But this was the funny part that I thought was absolutely hilarious. And shout out to @blackpilled Devin Stack on Twitter, because I thought this was hilarious. And he basically said, I knew it as far as the 8-minute star. And he goes, they're Jewfos.
Jewfos.
I'm pretty sure I retweeted that one.
Yeah, the Jewfos.
Right.
It ain't much different from what the original video looked like.
Dude, it really wasn't. Hold on, let me find the original just so I can show you real quick, because it is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but,
Project Blue Balls has been a disappointment so far.
Oh yeah,
for real though. Oh man, it was
there
Tim
you
Burchett,
go.
I think,
Yeah,
that showed it. But yeah,
the definition of blue balls, like, damn, dude, I was waiting for some crazy shit, and I'm fucking stacked up way behind what I was supposed to exert.
For
well,
real.
I mean, I don't know. It ruined my day because you
expect me to believe there's some motherfucking shit flying around like that in the goddamn sky?
I don't know. Christian Twitter just went
Extraterrestrial life.
stupid with like, can aliens be saved and all of this shit, and then it started,
Wait,
the
have we
pastor
tried throwing
fight.
holy water on the aliens?
That's so funny, dude.
That's like the whole reason of Signs, right? The whole movie of Signs is like, they throw water. Like, they came to a planet that has 98% water, and then it's the one thing that defeats them. Mel Gibson's on to
Mel
something.
Gibson, he's the savior we need, dude.
Well, here's the thing is that like, I interpreted that movie as those being demons, but he's on record as them being aliens.
Right.
So
well, I was like 8 years old when I saw it, so maybe I'll rewatch it.
But it's okay. It's okay, because in Passion of the Christ 2, with the resurrection, he is going to include a scene.
Right, he's actually going to kill Jim Caviezel this time.
No, he's going he's going to include a scene from the accounts where Jesus goes down to Hades and basically, fucking throttles all the demons down there.
I hope so, because that would be kick fucking ass.
Yeah, I mean, because most Christians don't even know that story exists in the Bible and or talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'll leave it there. I can talk about that stuff all day long. You guys know it.
Oh, yeah. I love you, boys. I appreciate you as always. And just on a final note, I guess, keep in mind, Trump, he doesn't even consider, or think about the Americans' financial situation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier. He's like, I don't really
gas.
think about the Americans' financial situation. Like, dude, motherfucker, I mean, fucking SpaghettiOs for dinner.
He doesn't care. And obviously we've had $7 gas out here in SoCal for quite a while. So, it's taking a toll.
Your calves. You should be walking by now.
Yeah, for real, though. Anyway, I love you, boys. I appreciate you as always, and I'll catch you next week. All right. All right, guys. I guess I'm going to end up, I don't know, closing this out on my own. I could definitely reinforce some of the Paul Wiltshire report with his very suspicious death, but I won't do it because it would take me like another hour probably. But anyway, I got nothing but love for you all. I know next week we'll certainly have the demoralization campaign at large to digest once more. So I'm assuming that we'll see you back here next week. And honestly, hopefully we won't deal with as many issues, just technologically speaking. I clearly Jose can't help what he's enduring at this point, but yeah, hopefully my my YouTube won't be taken down either as far as in the middle of the episode. And on that point, I might actually republish this episode. We'll see if I end up doing it or not. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see what the consequences are from the YouTube overlords and the reason in which this happened. Hopefully it is the tits. I'm not entirely sure, but that makes sense, I guess, as far as the intermission. But anyway, we'll pick back up next week where we left off, basically. And there's still, a few different things that I find fascinating that I've been trying to find an opportunity to discuss at some point. One of which is this strange overlapping nature in regard to Offutt Air Force Base being used as a strategic hub for many of these covert operations, including not just the Johnny Gosh abduction and the housing of the Monarch boys at the base, but apparently Gunter Russbacher himself was stationed there after he basically was released from Jefferson County Jail, and then he was ordered to arrive back at Offutt Air Force Base so they could essentially take him through the process of what his next covert clandestine operation would entail, and the details of that meeting, that covert meeting that took place with George Bush Sr. effectively being in attendance at Offutt Air Force Base. It kind of leans heavily into providing us with some credible window into what else exactly was taking place on this specific base, just in terms of these covert operations, especially during this specific time frame. So with that in itself, I think we have far more to concern ourselves with in terms of like Noreen Gosh claiming that Johnny Gosh's father, essentially they were receiving these cryptic phone calls leading up to his abduction, and then his father essentially pulls him out of school and takes him to Offutt Air Force Base. And when he returns home, he has a clouded memory of what even basically took place while he was at this strange Air Force Base that clearly housed the Monarch boys, and then he would effectively be abducted just after this essentially transpired. So there's far more to it, and I think that now more than ever, I take it very seriously. So at some time in the near future, we'll definitely cover a lot of those details, and I love and appreciate you all for sticking with me on this ride. I know it's always extraordinary, and I do think what is so valuable about this show and many of the shows that I don't know, just as far as having the opportunity to provide some of the more black belt level conspiratorial alternative theories, and I think that is definitely something that we should prioritize in just not only exploiting for that very purpose of transparency and disclosure, but to fundamentally construct just a foundation for ourselves to engage in the true nature of this deceptive framework of the permanent establishment. So through that, hopefully we can remove that naive veil and honestly engage in that kind of 5D chess game playing out before our eyes that is difficult for many people to kind of digest at face value. So it means the world to me. I can't thank you guys enough for showing up every week, and I look forward to next week. So keep your eyes out, just as far as your eyes peeled for a few interviews I have coming up. And I think I have another one scheduled to go back on Paranoid American for a part 2. I'm not sure if he's actually released the episode we did last week yet, but I'm sure we'll go off into some very interesting, compelling areas of interest and evidence. So I appreciate you guys. I think, also biblical, or not biblical. Oh my God, I almost started doing plugs for Jose. But it's the Biblical Hitman podcast with my buddy Steven that I've gone on his show a couple of times in the past, and we're scheduled for another episode next week as well. So anyway, and whatever this is, if you are a patron, I appreciate you more than you know. And we'll be doing episode 56 in the very near future. I would think the next couple of days. So yeah, nothing but love from me to you. And I hope you guys keep your head on a swivel for this upcoming week of psychological warfare while we're in the trenches and on the front lines of the mind war. So I love you all, and I hope you have a great night.